we go. Now it's good. Back here. So I don't know. All right. If,
I'm glad chat caught on to that as well.
Live, then. So yeah, Chad, how you doing?
F everyone. I was right. I called it the week before the election last year I have to find the exact bullpen episode because I'm going to fucking pull that section once I can find it. We don't put chapters on it, which makes it hard because our show is so freewheeling. But for viewers of the bullpen, you will remember last year, right when the Democrats put the constitutional amendment up for vote during their alleged special session, I was going over there's big problems with the way Virginia works for constitutional amendments on why this is not legal. One of the reasons I said was there has to be an intervening election, and early voting's been going on in Virginia since the beginning of September, so that should just torpedo this thing right out the gate. And that was exactly what the Virginia Supreme Court used as their rationale for negating this. They said, regardless of anything else, the very first error was that early voting counts as the election. And so no constitutional amendment. They didn't address any other stuff because they didn't have to.
Right. They said matter that the voters passed it because it was never constitutional. You cannot unconstitutionally change the Constitution.
Exactly. So luckily Virginia has very specific processes for a constitutional amendment to Virginia's Constitution. And you can change things by constitutional amendment to make that different, but you can't do it before the fact. Like you have to make the changes, make them take into effect. Did you hear about how I was right and everybody should be happy about that?
Chad has been harping on it for about a year and a half now.
What I'm sorry, what is Chad right about?
The Virginia constitutional amendment to redistrict. Oh. Yeah, Tina's right.
No, I didn't hear about it.
You're coming in a little low for me as well. I don't know. Comics.
Hang on. Sorry, Chad.
On everything.
You're going to have to repeat yourself, dude. I accidentally muted.
Oh. No, it's fine.
I was trying to turn my volume down. And apparently, I turned it all the way off.
Oh, well, that's all right. No, I was saying that early, like as soon as they were putting out the draft for the Virginia constitutional amendment on redistricting last year before the election, on this show, when I was talking, because Brahma was like, I don't live in Virginia. How's this? And we went over, I was like, this is not legal. Here's why. There's an election that's already started. I already voted. You can't, in Virginia has a rule that says you have to pass an amendment in the legislature, have an intervening election.
2 different sessions, isn't it?
Yep. So exactly. So the legislature has to pass it. There has to be an election. Then the legislature has to pass it again after the election. And then it can go to a referendum to the voters to approve it.
Which they skipped a couple steps. Yep. Is the audio better now?
Yes, it's much better.
Okay.
So the Virginia Supreme Court, because this ruling, so people are a little confused because there's been multiple ways that this referendum was put on hold by judges across the state of Virginia, specifically out of Tazewell County in Southwest Virginia. The Supreme Court was, this first challenge that they were addressing was specifically going back to what went wrong last year when they passed the amendment the first time. They didn't even address all of the problems that went wrong this year when they passed it the second time and broke new rules that they needed to do. Because per the Virginia Supreme Court, the original sin was the fact that we were in the middle of an election for the state legislature. Therefore, this amendment couldn't pass at that point because the election has to be done. Then the legislature could pass something. You can't pass it as an election's happening. And if you listen to the oral arguments, which were made available, they brought up specifically like, hey, under your reasoning, Democrat lawyer, does this mean the legislature on election day could pass something up until 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. on election day when the polls close and it would be okay? And the Democrat lawyers were like, well, we don't think that would be exactly okay, but that's not what happened here. And then the judges were like, but 1 million people had already voted. Like,
Right.
what are you talking about? So they basically shut it down based on that original issue. And this is where people are also needing to understand, they didn't address any of the other reasons why this was wrong
Because
in their
there was-
ruling, because
there
they
was no
didn't need
reason
to. For that original thing gets it out. So
I do
this
love
is
I do love the news swing on it though. The Democrats are like, "Well, we're going to change the law."
yeah, I want to
make it
bring
to
that
where-
up.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have I bookmarked, like, Hakeem Jeffries has apparently
Yes.
been powwowing. And by the way, here's the domino effect of what Virginia did. Louise Lucas, as the most obnoxious representative Democrats available at the time, pushing the 10-1 map in Virginia, in a state that, I mean, even this referendum passed by 3% barely. I mean, Virginia's map, if you look at it as it is now.
That also included one of those weird spikes
Yep.
in the evening.
Yep. So if you look at Virginia's map as it is, which is 6-5, it is about as representative accurately to the actual voting breakdown of the state as you could get. They have one more representative on the Democrat side than the Republicans do, and the state is about a 5-point difference in terms of actual voters.
Yeah,
And
I've always
all
said
of
that.
yeah, yeah. So Louise Lucas pushing the Virginia redistricting and being so obnoxious, she was printing and selling T-shirts, comics that was 10-1, but she didn't blur out any of the word.
Okay.
And that was actually, she, on inauguration day when Sponberger was being inaugurated as the governor in Virginia. It's a very storied, state. We go back to the beginning of the United States. There's
Right.
lots of rules, decorum and such. She's running around the state house going 10-1, 10-1. She, by the way, her
Wow.
past is that she's a drug dealer, runs marijuana things. There's an open DOJ investigation. Her offices just got raided that may or may not be related to some of the things she does.
Yeah, that was in the
Sponberger?
last.
No, Louise Lucas, the Senate pro tem, the president
Okay,
of the
got it.
Senate of Virginia. But on the other hand, our Speaker of the House is a convicted drug dealer.
Nice.
Who was pardoned and restored, had his voting rights restored by one of the previous Democratic governors, and thus he swung real quick into being a House representative, state House guy. Anyway, so Louise Lucas was so obnoxious, she single-handedly galvanized the entire southern bloc of Republicans, so that when that voting rights ruling came down, they were like, let's go. We're all redistricting. And so this is now swinging the entire House back towards the Republicans because of this redistricting, which has led, and I'm going to share this because New York Times reported on it, Hakeem Jeffries, who was apparently livid because his dream of being the speaker is now in jeopardy from this. They were powwowing, and this is New York Times reporting. I'll read it out. The conversation that he was meeting with Virginia Democrats. The conversation reflected the desperation and fury that have gripped the party after the state Supreme Court struck down a favorable map ratified by voters.
Oh no.
The most dramatic idea they discussed would involve and this is New York Times wording, the unusual gambit of replacing the entire state Supreme Court with the goal of reinstating their gerrymandered map.
By passing another law that basically says the maximum age for a Supreme Court justice
would be 54.
has to be 54.
Currently,
that
it's
seems
75.
That's old.
So yeah, so this
like
would
there's a
allow.
middle
Yes, but it would
ground somewhere.
auto retire all of them.
So yeah, the problem with this, amongst other things, is even if they replace the entire Supreme Court, the reporting on it goes on to this batshit crazy plan. Step 1, they pass a regular law because they don't have to amend the Constitution for this because this is just state legislative law.
Right.
To change it so that the Virginia Supreme Court justices' mandatory retirement age is now 54. That, like Brahma said, that the youngest person on the Supreme Court in Virginia is 55 and the oldest is 74. So that would cover the entire
And then they'd probably say something kind of like California. We're just doing it for in the meantime. It's not permanent. It's just to right the wrongs that have been done by the Republicans.
Step 2 in this plan, once they've replaced the entire goddamn Supreme Court, is to rule. This is the case. This is what they're going to do. The Democrats will then bring a case that the 2020 constitutional amendment that they originally introduced when it was a Republican legislature and Democrat governor, that required a bipartisan commission to draw the districts for the Congress, did not follow the rules on being properly posted and all the rules for a Virginia constitutional amendment, all the things that they broke this time. So they've been made very aware of all the rules they broke. So they're looking back and saying, oh, we broke those rules previously, didn't we?
So that was all unconstitutional.
Yeah. So they want to then bring that. It's that one I think is fine. They're grasping at straws. The Supreme Court would probably just blow that one off.
I think it'd be funny if they tried to pass the law to reduce the age of the Supreme Court, and it goes up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says no.
Well, yeah, that's
that would be hilarious.
The interesting thing is that Virginia has very specific constitutional guarantees in the state about not doing ex post facto laws. Like, you can't change things retroactively in Virginia.
Right.
To the detriment of anyone. You can change things retroactively to benefit people, but you can't change it to
meaning that even if
people.
They changed it, it would not apply to.
It wouldn't apply to any
court.
sitting.
It would only apply to
new justices.
New justices.
So I mean, they could appeal that anyway. So their plan would be then to appeal the 2020 Constitutional Amendment and have that thrown out, which would allow them to then draw their maps on the legislative level without any constitutional amendments needed. They were basically this plan is nuking the entire state of Virginia government for 4 additional congressional seats temporarily, allegedly, is what they had said. It shows you exactly who Democrats really are. They will, by any means necessary, take and wield power. And so this is why we should nuke the filibuster in the Senate on the federal level and pass what we want now while we can.
Yeah, because while they're trying to do all this, they're claiming that the Republicans are rigging everything at the moment.
Yeah.
Just by having things declared unconstitutional because they are. I mean, between this and the racial districting, they're losing their freaking minds. How much did you guys talk about that last week?
A ton. Wait, was I here last week?
Yes, you were, Matt.
Yes, the episode without me.
Oh, yeah, I've ran it. That's right. I was in charge. Yeah, we covered everything important. Whatever you think we should have, we did.
Good.
He's full of crap.
Because we were also right on that. Because we've said for months, all the way back to last year, that the racial districting case would definitely change the landscape.
They're trying to claim that, Republicans are racist by getting rid of these districts. It's like, okay, whatever. I don't fucking care.
Yes, getting rid of the racism is racism in and of itself.
Of course it is, Brahma. I mean, this only goes one way.
Having districts that are only elected only created because they were racist, that wasn't an issue. But that's how the Democrats have kept power for so long. The lawfare. What were you going to say, Chad?
I was going to say we not only were right about the decision, we even nailed which justice was going to be writing the decision, because we had said for months it's going to be an Alito written decision. Yep. And he's going to torpedo it. And it might be reined in slightly from voiding the entire Voting Rights Act by Roberts, which it looks like it probably was. But effectively, it's been gutted. It's not going to have any real teeth, any going forward, because the decision says you can't use race as in any way to justify your drawing of congressional districts. It is in fact
we've already seen what Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana have
Tennessee
put
has
through new maps. Florida's put through a new map, and Harmeet Dillon announced that whether the states want to or not, there will be challenges to every map that has a district like that coming from the DOJ.
Now, do you want me? Here's the thing. I have a legal solution the Democrats could use in Virginia to get around what happened based on this, and I don't know if I should share it to say, you know, because I want to point out how they could use this decision to their benefit, but I don't want to give them ideas. But I doubt they're watching our show, so probably not. So
What, based on that decision,
that the
redraw the map again, but without the rules?
The Democrats, Virginia has minority majority districts for the purposes of black representation, specifically out of Richmond. Currently, they could, under this decision, if they had been smart, they would have immediately filed in a federal court to block the current maps in Virginia as unconstitutional and to have to redraw them to abide by the new Supreme Court decision. And they should have put elections on hold while they were doing that, because the Fourth Circuit has plenty of friendly judges that probably would have let them do it. The problem is now, by going about it the way they did now, they've poisoned the well, and they can. And I don't know that a federal judge is going to want to take the heat on covering them for doing that.
Right.
By the way, Tennessee
probably still going to be forced to redraw the districts either way again because of the minority majority.
I don't know that
Harmeet Dillon.
Well, Harmeet Dillon's probably not going to put Virginia on the list of ones she goes after. She's probably going to hold off on that. It's going to be, you're going to have to take each state to court to force them to do it, unless the state voluntarily goes in there. Like now, what we're seeing is like Louisiana, who brought the case that went to the Supreme Court. Alabama, Mississippi, other states are going.
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee, by the way, has one Democrat congressman. He's out of what effectively the Memphis district. And this is the one, because we might show clips. I just want to show you. This is the current congressman out of Memphis for Tennessee.
Cohen.
His name is Cohen, and obviously he's not there because, you know, it provides black voters someone who looks like them.
I thought his name was KFC with the Colonel.
But he much like a lot of people who code switch, I think he's trying to do something.
Indeed.
I thought that was that's who, because there's some great clips of Scott Jennings on CNN getting into arguments, and that's who the person that they're upset is being removed from the Tennessee congressional delegation. It's going to be honest. So it is a victory lap for the bullpen. We were right about all of it. And leading into the named topic of the show, it completely, with the Voting Rights Act and Virginia's referendum being thrown out, it completely shifts the balance on the expected election. Now, even in a quote-unquote Democratic wave year, unless they are pulling like a 15-point win on the on the nationwide House vote, they're probably not going to win the House.
Right. Well, it's a lot closer. I've still got my money where my mouth is, saying that yes, the Republicans are going to retain the House and the Senate. I put it in Kalshi saying that was going to happen, and it's already making some money. So, not a financial advisor.
Indeed.
Kalshi.
But yeah.
Hey, Greg, how do I put money in Kalshi? Kalshi?
First, you sign up for Kalshi.
Are they a sponsor?
Not yet. We've been
Then
trying.
I ain't signing up with shit.
So, yeah. I mean, this is why we haven't been extremely black-pilled on the midterms, because we've kind of been talking about what we thought would be coming for months and months and months now on this channel. And I know a lot of other people probably knew all this stuff, but there were so many people that act like it was just a surprise that these things are happening. And it's like, I find it weird, because it was all stuff that was easily foreseen, especially when you've got somebody who's in Virginia to be on the ground there. So, but the other thing that's been going on with some of these elections that have been happening lately, everybody's trying to say MAGA's pretty much over. Trump has no power. He has no sway. Well, it didn't look that way in Indiana last week when basically everybody who said that they would not redistrict pretty much got primaried into the ground. I think it was Trump went like 7 for 7 on candidates.
The only one who got by was a guy who planted a libertarian in the primary to siphon enough votes away from his real challenger that he snuck through.
So we're finally getting rid of some of the rhinos in Indiana, I hope.
Which, by the way, never vote for a goddamn libertarian. It's never going to work. All it does is screw you from getting real representation. If a libertarian is running in a primary or a general election, the point of the libertarian being on that ballot is to keep the most conservative person from winning every time. So I'm not saying you shouldn't be libertarian in your heart, but you should never be libertarian in your vote.
I think I do have some video of Hakeem, flying off the handle about everything. So let me grab that. And we'll watch a little Hakeem Jeffries clip.
Freaking Jane over here trying to get me to start shit with different YouTubers. She's like, no, dramatize the thumbnail. Put them in the title.
Why do we have oranges in our picture? I don't know.
Were y'all there for the last speakeasy when we did the men writing women in movies and shit?
No.
You weren't there either?
Didn't you do that last night with Stupenzo?
No, it was the other night.
Oh, yes, men writing women. I thought you said writing women.
Do you remember that video?
Yeah.
Homeboy transitioned 8 months later.
I saw last night. And I had said that during your stream. Are we sure this isn't a trend?
Our message to Florida Republicans is F around and find out.
That we're just getting in from the Commonwealth of Virginia. This could have big implications for other states and clearly for the midterms. And there's a reaction now for Republicans in Virginia saying the following. We respect the decision of the Supreme Court of Virginia. I'm proud Virginians came out in historic numbers. Made their voices heard and sent a message not just here at home but across the country to Donald Trump and his administration. That's the reaction from the Democrats. The problem
How'd they
is,
get that?
Yeah, for Democrats,
how'd they get that out of
they've been shut out of the program here because they thought they were going to pick up several seats. Republicans are saying the Supreme Court today affirms what we all know. You cannot violate the Constitution to change the Constitution, which was what
according
Shannon
to who?
Bream was describing.
The Constitution?
I just think it's hilarious. Hakeem Jeffries just keeps putting his foot in his mouth. FAFO, Florida, find out. And, we're at full war, hours before Trump gets shot at again. Every time he says anything, it just backfires completely on him. So there's Hakeem. He crazy.
You know what he needs? He needs another Spartacus moment. Something to really...
But that wasn't him. That was Cory Booker.
Oh, what's the difference? Which one is this? Hakeem Jeffries?
Hakeem Jeffries.
What happened to Cory Booker? Did he die?
No.
He's
still around.
Real quiet.
He stopped. Well, he did that filibuster last year. There was like 27 hours of him standing there in a diaper for no reason because it did absolutely nothing. It was just performative to have the longest filibuster in Senate history. But it accomplished nothing. So that's what he's done lately. And he broke up with what's her face?
Rosario Dawson?
Yeah, Ahsoka.
He couldn't handle all that cake.
Oh, that's right. He was with her, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
For a little bit. So here's Scott Jennings masterfully slapping down some of this redistricting talk. So
racial redistricting.
On the campaign,
you literally are taking Memphis, which is a city that with black voters, and you split it in three, stretching 3,000 miles.
Who's the current Democrat congressman there? What What is it? A
Oh
black
yeah, I saw this.
Just because black people are allowed to like people that don't look like them?
Exactly. And that is the point I wanted you to make, because just because you're not going to have a black congressman, why is it that a Republican can't do just as well representing black voters as a Democrat?
Because
why
they
does
aren't
your race,
electing.
Why does your
because
race
just because
determine your politics?
It doesn't. No. You're making my point, actually. The assumption is black people. No. The assumption is black people will only elect black people. No, black people are smart enough to elect.
The assumption
Nope,
is
let me
black
finish.
people only elect
Black people.
Just let Ashley finish.
Black people will elect people who will actually represent them, who have their best interests in heart. And what Republicans have done in Tennessee is dismantle the power for black people to have their voice. They did this.
I'm sorry. How well has that gone for them?
know.
Supposedly electing only people that have their interests at heart.
I don't know. Let's ask. Was it California? Various cities in California, Chicago, Oakland. That's the one I was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think that these places would be paradise for black people, and clearly they're not.
Especially those districts, because all they ever do is elect Democrats, and those Democrats really have their well-being at heart.
Oh
Same
yeah,
thing
absolutely.
In Texas, because they said they thought Latinos were going to swing for Republicans. There are black people that are represented. I'm black and I got a Republican president right now. Black people don't elect black people based on race. They elect people that are aligned with their moral, their beliefs in justice, and Republicans just took that away from them in Tennessee and in other states.
I just disagree that the only kind of a politician who can elect black people in Congress must be a Democrat. This is just an artificial.
That's not what I'm
for
saying.
The Democratic
That's
Party.
not what I'm saying.
Black voters are still fully franchised and can go vote for whoever they want.
Not
it
what
just
I'm
doesn't
saying.
have to be a Democrat.
Well, I mean, Brad, to your suit.
Yeah. So Scott masterfully, slapping down talking points again.
Yep.
I liked it when homeboy tried to put his finger in his face.
Oh yeah.
He got a little riled up on that one.
He did. And the other one when they had another 20-year-old on there with him a few days ago, and he was talking about illegal immigrants. Scott was. And the kid goes, I don't think you should ever be allowed to say illegals again. And he was like, who the hell do you think you are that you think you can tell me what I'm allowed to say? The legal wording for them in the laws is illegal aliens. So you cannot tell me I cannot call them illegal. CNN doesn't deserve him.
No.
But we're sure glad they have him, because I don't know how he puts up with all of it, but he does it so well. So,
well, it's easy when they usually do the most damage to themselves by speaking.
Yeah, I love how he just basically pulls a Jim all the time and just kind of looks over at the camera and smirks, just waiting for his time to say something. Dead Man for $4.99 says, I voted Libertarian from 2012, I include Ron Paul, until 2024, but stopped for all the reasons Chad's pointed out. Libertarian at heart, but F the Libertarian Party.
Oh, I was about to say, what's wrong with midgets?
Yeah, I kind of stopped voting Libertarian as well. It's, like I said, it's pointless, but the way the system is currently set up, it is pointless. You're just basically...
It is a two-party system.
Yeah.
Lil Chad always wants more, and so do I.
Did Chad ever figure it out last week?
Eventually, when I changed the setup of
the dynamic.
Yeah.
Well, I had typed in the in the chat how to do it.
I know, and when I did it muted and screwed up the scene, and then Mad was being obnoxious about it.
What?
Matt was being mad.
I don't even remember this. What happened?
Because it switched, when it
chat,
switched
I'm under
dynamic.
Attack.
Orange is in the chat if you believe in Mad's innocence.
What is it even for, Chad? What is it even for? I think Descartes, I think that was him, right?
I will not submit to cancel culture, Mad.
So what if I delete a channel that I ran with two other people? Fuck them.
And my whole Twitter account.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I wasn't using it anyways.
I feel bad for Bearing and Dank. They are so
Right?
fucking pissed.
Danky was pissed.
Yeah,
And Barron was
really
like,
confused.
"Fuck it, I'm leaking DMs."
Yep.
Yeah, immediately.
The not to completely side topic this thing, but if my favorite clip that I watched in the last day or two was from shout out to Alyssa Clips, who clips all these lolcow channels for me so I don't have to actually watch them. Put in the clip from Kino Casino where apparently the alleged very friendly person in the Quartering's life towards him and his wife was threatening to leak DMs.
Oh shit! Really?
Yep.
The other type of bull.
Yep, the bull was talking about that. Hey, chat, super chat if you're glad that we don't have these problems on this channel.
Not yet, anyways. Keep talking
Not
shit.
yet. If you super chat $100, we'll kick Matt off and cause a problem.
Man, you're gonna tempt them, bro.
If
I'm the
you go
closest thing we have to a heel. They're gonna take the heat out on me.
The closest thing we have.
Mad has look. I have a 25% chance of winning against Mad because Mad has a 75% chance of winning. But you take that 75% chance and you add comics and Brahma in, and then I have even less of a. I can't do
33% chance.
I can't do
Comics,
that.
is this
Steiner math.
true? Because you're gonna need some backup, bro.
Comics, are you going to run FNT this week? Yeah, probably. Yeah, totally. That's going to happen.
Yo,
Where's everybody going?
Guess where the bullpen's gonna be on Friday night?
No, I think it's
Friday
a regular.
afternoon.
It's a regular Friday, so I don't know what exactly you guys are implying, but
That you're gonna run and invite us?
no.
There goes that. That was
Is
a
not
long
Gary going
opportunity.
on a trip or something?
Well, I think they're at some point they're going to Japan. I know that.
Right.
Some point, yeah. I'm not sure when that's happening, but I managed to watch June the King's video on the quartering, all 3.5 hours of it. Holy fucking shit!
Oh,
I was watching Nick DeFaria. What's his name? Nick.
I don't know. It's who you were watching.
Nicholas Diorio.
Nicholas Diorio.
Yeah, he's pretty funny, even though he's a New Yorker. But
looks like
Gary's
it's a-
headed for Japan, so will Garrett be then, right? And X-Ray.
And
And the GNG crew is at a meetup.
So
it is going to be us.
So Comics is in charge.
I doubt it. I don't think they're going to have a stream then.
What I
Most
will
likely.
say is you should tell Gary to make sure that when he's getting the items from the vending machines, he's very clear about whether it's new or used.
Well, fair.
So the other election that happened was in Ohio. Vivek Ramaswamy won by an 80-point landslide in that primary.
I really hope that he pulls it off, but my thinking is much like Plattner in Maine. Vivek is their ideal matchup in Ohio because he has got so many terrible quotes that completely turn off the people who helped Trump run up that margin.
But he doesn't have a legitimate Nazi tattoo on
No,
his
he
body.
doesn't. But I'm going to tell you, in Ohio, coming out and saying that H-1B1 visa holder immigrant employees are more American than Americans is not a thing that's going to play well. And they're going to be pumping in so much money because it's not just what they're going to do is they're going to combine the Ohio Senate race where Sherrod Brown is running on their side and the governor one to just lump in the Senate candidate with Vivek and just do these things to turn it off and kind of make it a combo ticket instead of just individuals. So,
Right. We'll see. But he way outperformed in the primary compared to what people thought he was going to as a Trump-backed candidate. Darren, for 10 Canadian, says, Brahma, here's 10 for something blonde and bouncy. Hope you enjoyed the game last Sunday. Yeah. So what happened last Sunday was they moved game one of the Avs up by 2 days to have this series start on Sunday instead of Tuesday, because Minnesota apparently didn't think that they were going to go to the second round, so they already had a whole bunch of concerts booked out. at the arena where the Wild play. But I wasn't able to sell the tickets because of that. And since they were $200 a pop, we really didn't want to eat $800 and not see the game. Turned out,
not see?
Yeah, pretty damn good game to go to if you're going to get stuck going to one, because a 9-6 score in hockey. It was
I'm sorry
insane.
you had to suffer like that.
Yeah, but thank you guys for covering last week. But yeah, we need something blonde and bouncy.
Who this you guys shit is.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Stop.
Some people have said that Mad doesn't believe in America, but I don't agree with that. I think he believes in himself and that he runs his show greatly. I don't know.
No. Go. You want another shot? We got time.
No, I don't know. I'm gonna take the L and I'm gonna move on.
Move on to Deeple for $1. Orange Man Bad has a new meaning after the past week or so of YouTube shenanigans. I feel like there was no real political news this past week outside of the Virginia shenanigans. Oh yeah, we had a primary. There was a little bit more than that. We also had some debates out in California that were quite entertaining. And we'll get to those.
If freaking Laguna Beach wins, that is insane.
Yeah, but it would be better than the alternative.
All hail the bullpen.
Because he's an underdog.
So much bounce. It's
Spencer
like looking
Pratt.
at my character in Conan. How mad.
Yo, yeah, I saw a chick just boob just bouncing, no bra, nothing in the cave earlier. I didn't think that was supposed to happen.
I think Slender changed the settings.
Glad I wasn't streaming.
Yeah, so
yeah, that's why he originally had the settings set like that.
Spencer Pratt, he's still the underdog. I know that he's popped in Kalshi to being second place, I think. Oh yeah, like because there's Karen Bass is running, right, for re-election. We have the socialist woman running to her left to try to win in the primary. And
who is third in power in the state or in the city right now.
Yeah. And then we have Spencer Pratt running. Now, Spencer Pratt's hope is that because the way the primaries work in California, because they're jungle primaries where the top two candidates of plurality get moved on to the general election, if you collect 51% of the primary vote, there is no general election. You just win. That's what Pratt is gunning as a strategy of collecting the 51% in the primary.
And Pratt is not a conservative in any way, not a Republican really in any way.
He's what would be. I mean, he's a California.
He's a moderate
Republican.
California.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he's a guy who got pissed off about the way everything's been ran and decided he was going to do something about it. And he's excellent at marketing because of his history in what he's done for his career. So let's take a look at one of those examples of marketing, because his ads have been very AI and very interesting.
Oh God, I've seen this. This is great.
I've seen it. Yeah.
It's fucking accurate.
Please, I'm begging you. There's homeless drug addicts in front of the schools. My children aren't safe.
Look, if you were a transgender migrant, I could get you a free pussy.
Let's move the drug addicts closer.
Bass already solved crime. I endorse her.
Next!
It's Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yep.
Please. I
Hugh
just want to
Jackman.
rebuild my home. It's been over a year.
Who's this guy?
Spencer Pratt.
Pratt.
Okay.
He rose
Laguna
to
Beach?
fame from. No, it was the spinoff from Laguna Beach, the sequel.
Well,
the Hills. He was in the Hills.
Yeah.
Okay, isn't he like a reality star villain?
Yeah, he's at. Oh, this is where it gets interesting. Allegedly, he's always been a very nice guy, but because the Hills and Laguna Beach, once it got to the Hills, it went from being sort of planned to full like quasi scripted.
Yeah,
and they wanted a villain to really pump it up because in Laguna Beach, because Matt is an expert on California reality. He knows the villain that they got in was straight out of Central Casting, and her name was Kristen Cavallari, future Jay Cutler baby mama.
That's right.
And she feuded with Lauren Conrad of Kohl's clothing design fame now. And so when they spun off from the Hill from Laguna Beach because everybody graduated high school, they made a show called The Hills about them being college interns and things. And Lauren Conrad was the main character, but they didn't have a villain anymore. So they made one of her friends named Heidi Montag, her boyfriend.
That was her name, Heidi.
Heidi Montag's boyfriend, Spencer Pratt, who became her husband, and they've been together 20 years.
Are they still together? I was going to ask that.
They're still together.
By the way, does everybody remember?
I liked it better when all I knew was that he was the villain in a reality show.
Well, hold on, this is important.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
hold on, this is important. Does everybody remember when Chad was like, "Joe, Mad, he'll know all about the California reality," and he just dropped so much info about
that was
this.
like, yeah, I remember too. It was 15 seconds ago.
I don't remember any of that shit.
No, I have a wife. I've been married 20 plus years. She watched these shows. She's rewatching Laguna Beach because they did a reunion. So Spencer Pratt, the producers told him like, hey, we want to kind of make you the villain. Are you? He's like, yeah, whatever. If you need. So
yeah, it's not like I'm going to run for mayor. Am I right?
Yeah. So they have him be like the most obnoxious asshole imaginable on these reality shows because he goes from Laguna Beach and then they put him on like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here with him and his wife after that. And each time the producers are doing it, but that's all like, it's all scripted. And he's, again, allegedly when all the people come out and talk about him, they're like, oh yeah, he's the nicest guy. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He's super sweet. He's not actually a dick at all. He's really down to do what the producers want him to do.
I agree with Soul Assassin. Remember when Chad and Mads were just gay and not pathetic? All this Cali show lore is weak.
See, that's what I'm saying, Chad. That's what you did. You drugged me into it. I didn't know any of that.
Look, if I wanted to throw Matt under the bus for being gay, it would be talking about how he unironically watched Brokeback Mountain with other men.
All right, let's finish the ad.
This is a machine. If we want to burn this town to the ground, pull through that!
That song will probably get us hit, so we get the point.
Yeah, well, I think everybody's
I think
seen
it's
it.
muted and finish it. I like watching politicians get pelted with tomatoes.
Okay, we can do that.
Did you have the union ad that's even better for him?
I got the new one that they made against him.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It was
okay
when you say against him, but I like this is the big. Somebody in the comments was like, he needs to report this as an in-kind contribution because it's
right.
so good for him.
Yeah, I've got that one. Let me see if I can find where I placed it. Yeah, here we go. And unmute. Blow it up. This is the Democrat ad against Spencer Pratt. Keep that in mind.
Republican Spencer Pratt is the last thing Los Angeles needs for mayor. Pratt opposes using taxpayer money to build brand new houses for our unhoused neighbors.
Okay, check.
It's time for the homeless to get help or get out. Pratt
Yes.
thinks LA needs thousands more police officers rather than more social workers, and Republican
Check.
Spencer Pratt thinks public employee unions should have less power, not more.
Are they doing
LA
a
is
bit?
on the right track and needs to stay the course. Vote no on Republican Spencer Pratt.
If you put an ad out that
I
says LA
honestly-
is on the right track, you are 100% just ridiculous.
I honestly thought it was a joke when I first saw
Yeah,
it.
that feels like an op.
Yeah. Interesting tactic there.
Yeah.
Let me tell
Wonder
you
how it's
why
gonna
he's
work
so
out for you.
great. Yeah, let me tell you why he's so great.
He
He's
doesn't want to
against
give
all the
all of your
retarded
money to
things-
homeless people.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
He's against all the retarded shit that we're for. Don't vote for him.
Morons. And then I do have one clip of him from the debate, which was he kind of tore everybody up in the debate. So let's do this. Tore this chick up enough that she had to come back the next day and say, "Oh no, I wouldn't actually defund the police."
Treatment first. I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth. These ideas cost
Where's
us
the
over
lie?
$400 million to house for 70, what did you say? 3,000 people for $400 million? This is an absolute failure for both of them. They're a team.
That's right, because the socialist woman on the right of this thumbnail right now, she started her entry point into LA politics was running an NGO for the quote unquote unhoused people, and she got wealthy grifting.
Then she went
on-
into government,
yeah,
and she's still in charge of the homeless situation.
I
in
thought
LA.
we changed it to otherly sheltered.
Unsheltered people.
No, otherly sheltered.
So I don't, anytime, and this is my favorite thing when reporters actually, as Rush Limbaugh used to say, an instance of drive-by journalism,
Right.
do stories where they actually check on the homeless people who get put in, hotels or houses, because across the country, that this is not a new solution, by the way. It's always been cheaper to put up a homeless person in one of these places compared to the cost that these municipalities are spending on trying to take care of them through other programs. But what happens is every time the homeless people who are given rooms don't stay there. I think it was on CNBC. I was watching it. They got the homeless person to go into to show them their room that they had, and it was just a massive fucking hoarding junk pile of trash. And the homeless person was like, I just bring the stuff I find on the street up here, and then I go sleep down where I want to on the street. It was and so they're like, so you don't actually stay in your room? Nope, not at all.
We lost comics.
Yeah, maybe he became unhoused.
Or he just got the call that he's
that he's
going to be
doing
hosting.
FNT.
I mean,
yeah. Before we move on from Pratt, let me get that last one. There's comics. The Dead Man for $4.99 says Gary floated the idea of having FNT, having the benchwarmers run FNT, so Comics, Drinker, or Mauler would run the show.
Can I step in to defend before you play the clip? Defend our boy Comics and not say he's a bench warmer?
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
I would
He's
imagine
one of the OGs.
I feel like
I'm
he's the
one of the
co-founder.
OGs, so call me a
co-founder of
benchwarmer.
FNT.
I think he's talking about the other
Okay.
people that we have on
Gotcha.
regular, not necessarily me.
All right,
Sorry, my power flickered 5.
Yeah, I was about
no.
to tell them that we have a storm coming in right now.
I just don't. I just got to stick up for you, Comics. You're our boy, and they are not representing the history of that show to call you a bench warmer.
We know.
All right, but here's the clip.
The bullpen thanks you for giving that I need more.
thing.
By the
It's really
way,
starting to kick up out there.
What she's been doing on Euphoria this season, I'm pretty sure that if we contact her agent for the right amount of money, she would make one of these clips legit. Because
I'm pretty sure this is all her being made to do these things.
I know, but I can't
put her in her place.
No, I can't believe she would stay on set for that. I would. I mean, you're as an actor, you can still walk off. You can be like, no, but they are purposefully humiliating her in a way that is, I think, goes way beyond any storytelling need to do it. But I think we got another chat in.
The one we just got.
Didn't we get a couple more?
I think I was.
No, that was it.
Did we? Okay.
No, Eric sent another one. We haven't covered it yet, Eric. I was going to get to it. So for $1, he said, do you cover Gavin's news scam? He's giving diapers away instead of a voucher to buy them. He is funding an NGO. Yes, his wife is involved in it along with a donor. Diaper cost 50 cents per diaper. And the important part of that, okay, yeah, he goes on in the next one. For another $1, if you go to Target, not on sale, they cost 16 cents per diaper. So he's using funds to do them at 50 cents a diaper and mail them out rather than a voucher to go buy diapers. And they would be 16 cents per diaper if a consumer was to actually go buy them.
Yeah.
So they are getting these generic diapers cheaper. They are pocketing the rest of the money. Yep. And Steve Hilton did a whole thing pointing that out. So, like, he actually went to Target and looked at the price of the diapers at Target to verify. So Steve Hilton being the leading Republican in the governor's race. So let's do a funny one before we go over to the governor's race and have to listen to Katie Porter and those idiots talk for a few minutes. I came across this from the Babylon Bee, and it's pretty much spot on perfect. This is, if you asked AI to simulate, what would it be like if the U.S. had no Republicans left?
It ends up, when you do communism right, it works perfectly and everyone loves it.
And it only took 200 million starving to get here.
That's less than half as many as we thought.
There has been another terrorist attack with 33 dead. The American government has decided not to do anything about it since we probably deserved it.
It sure is great that abortion is now free and available for everyone everywhere.
This was Babylon B, right?
But it's too bad
Yeah, this is the Babylon Bee.
that there aren't any babies to abort since we outlawed being a heterosexual.
Murdering those families was wrong, but you're an immigrant and you probably just didn't know any better. Plus, we shut down all prisons. You're free to go.
This is wrong! You need to lock him up!
How dare you question our compassion? Execute that man immediately! I found more letters we need to add to the acronym.
Night, Tina.
It's already so large, it's throwing off the rotation of the Earth. If we add any more letters, we'll die.
Then we die!
Everyone just stay in line and walk through the scanner. It's going to check how dark your skin is to see how many benefits you get.
If I were you, I wouldn't bother.
The U.S. has run out of money.
Can't we just murder more billionaires and confiscate their wealth?
There are no more left. I'm afraid someone in our country is actually going to have to get a job and work.
Good satire.
I see Bernie Sanders, and I just I can't help but always think back to when Larry David was playing him on Saturday Night Live, and it was so perfect because he was just basically
During his
being Larry
presidential run.
David. He was just being Larry David / George Costanza. It was like, we got billionaires, sometimes millionaires, but now billionaires. Like going.
Well, I owe.
You want to hear me say something smart for once? The bullpen is awesome.
And then we got Tina coming in for $2 ambient time. Have a great week. So we've got.
To the bonny lasses watching, we salute you.
And DB Wild did do a new one. I just haven't gotten it uploaded yet. Jeremiah Hembry says for $5, can we talk about the Muslim candidate in Maine that was elected for a couple days, then resigned because they found out what he was hiding?
What was he hiding?
Not aware on that one. Chad, do you know what's...
I want to know what he's hiding.
The only thing I know
I've
of
heard
in
about
Maine is
was
the
Plattner.
Nazi.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about a Muslim up there. Sorry.
It was from, I found a story back from January where he resigned after 72 hours, a congressman named Iman Osman, because he was facing gun theft charges.
I have a ton of thanks to give, and it could be all yours.
Thank you for that super chat, Jeremiah.
That's a quality clip.
You think so?
I will not stand for BDH hate on this stream.
Well, it happens every single week.
I don't understand.
Except for last week when I wasn't here.
See, you pretend like you don't know, but then I would imagine if you saw oranges in the stream, you'd get it. But you're just not a part of it, Brahma.
What are the oranges for?
What are the oranges for? Is citrus something that makes you happy?
It's a good question. All right. So the first clip from the governor's debate is the moderators asking if California should give free health care to all illegal aliens. So let me get that set up.
Congresswoman Porter, your thoughts on the idea of funding health care for undocumented immigrants statewide?
Yes.
Yes, and
And that's, by the way, what I think Californians deserve as answers to these questions, Alex.
And for critics who
Yes.
say that we can't afford it, what do you...
Katie Porter basically destroyed her career during this debate, but it's California, so she probably still has the best chance of winning.
Well, luckily, she just if you look at how she treats her employees, she's a good, reasonable, nice person to be around to run things. You can tell that from the way her staff is treated.
Oh, she addresses that during the debate. Let's pull that one up.
Oh, really?
I can't believe that on a stage with 30 minutes of interrupting and bickering and name calling and shouting and disrespect for everyone up here who's stepping into public service.
Get that 30 minutes of name calling, bickering, and and shouting and interrupting.
That anyone wants to talk about my temperament.
What? What? Why the fuck do you think you're here?
Interrupting them too. I don't know why you want to act like you weren't.
Oh, cowboy!
Steve and I sat here smiling at each other because we're just watching you all prove to everyone why they can't vote for a Democrat.
Exactly.
If only there was boiling mashed potatoes and boiling hot mashed potatoes just thrown on him.
I hate it when I see people like, no, that's a non-answer. Why don't you talk about it? Don't tell it. You know what I mean?
Right. But she actually comes back and throws a name back at him after he says, you were actually interrupting too. She immediately goes to name calling. After she just complained that that's what happened.
You want to act like you weren't.
Oh, cowboy!
Steve and
cupcake.
Steve and
Cowboy
I sat
up
here
cupcake.
smiling.
Is that what she said? Cowboy up.
She said cowboy up cupcake.
That's funny.
Yeah. So the night did not go extremely well for her.
God, I mean, in a lot of ways, speaking as a former Californian, I kind of feel like California deserves her.
Oh, yeah. But it would be interesting to see what somebody like Hilton could do, although he would have
I agree.
No actual functional control over anything because he would just be the governor. And I mean, the legislature is not going to work with them. They're all completely captured Democrats. So who knows? But it might be a sign of the times of things changing there a little bit. I just doubt it's going to happen. Here is Steve Hilton.
Mr. Hilton, go ahead.
It's not Donald Trump who's given us gas prices $2 higher than the rest of the country. It's Democrat policies, which Antonia and all the Democrats here support. It's not Donald Trump that's given us the highest housing costs in the country. It's Democrat policies that all these Democrats support. Donald Trump is the president in all the other states of America where the cost of living is way lower than in California. Obviously, it is way past time for change in California, and endlessly going on about Donald Trump doesn't serve the needs of the struggling families and small businesses.
Can you say whether or not?
I mean, gas prices
True
are
statement.
higher right now, but he is 100% right on that.
Right, but gas prices are always higher in California. Yes, they're high everywhere right now, but California does it to themselves. I mean, if it's $4 here, then it's going to be $8 there.
Sorry, Fenris, I didn't realize you lived in California.
Yeah.
He says as a current Californian, go fuck yourself.
I saw. So I think we had one other clip from this debate.
I was just going to say, to answer to Eric, I'm more optimistic about Pratt winning than Hilton. The problem that's going to happen with the governor is none of them have a shot at the 51% in the primary. So unless both Republicans manage to be the ones that advance, if it's a Republican and a Democrat, they're going to circle the wagons, and it's probably going to be a trouncing once you get to the general election.
Which is why you saw the Democrats take Swalwell out. Not the Republicans doing it. The Democrats did it. Because they needed to make sure that they consolidated behind one of their people. And that seems to be Katie Porter. I think this is
It's the job of the California governor to protect every single Californian. The sanctuary state policy is designed to make sure that our state resources, the taxpayer dollars, the public servants that we have are focusing on doing their jobs, which is not cooperating with the federal immigration authorities. These are Californians. They contribute to our economy. They pay taxes, and they're one of the only ways that our state has been growing in recent
I love
years.
that the other guy there is a sheriff who's actually dealing with
Right.
it on the right, waiting. He's like, I have both barrels ready to just unload on this bitch right now.
Yep. I just wish we got more clips of them responding like that, because we mostly got Katie Porter making a fool out of herself. I love the whole, which is how our state's growing right now. We're bringing in all the illegals. She just flat out says it. And they're actual Californians, not all of you that pay for them. So, yeah, it's Cali being Cali.
Sadly.
We did have something interesting to talk about that came out this week as well. Did you guys see about Representative Jayapal? Chad?
That he can't
Never heard of
speak at all. I mean, he's
no, she.
Oh, are we? I always. What's the other one from California? That's. Yeah.
The other one from California.
The congressman from California who can't speak English very well. He's Indian.
Oh yeah, the Indian guy.
No, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, but yeah,
I thought he was from Washington.
Is he from Washington? West Coast, whatever.
Well, yeah,
same difference at this point.
It's starting to get bad outside. I'm gonna shut it down. So,
but
turn
you
my
got that
PC
good
off.
internet now.
Yeah, but no, my yeah, I just heard thunder and shit. I don't know. I don't have the kind of luck to where my PC doesn't explode.
All right, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for coming on.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, dude. I'm
Have a good-
hanging a little
later.
longer. I'm basically running out of juice myself, but I'll hang in for like another 21 minutes.
Okay.
Or until I lose power.
Cool. So this is Pramila Jayapal, Democrat, Washington.
In January, Trump issued an executive order threatening tariffs on any country supplying fuel to Cuba. This was this January, just a few months ago. And oil shipments from Venezuela, that's where Cuba had been getting its oil, were halted after the U.S. operations to kidnap Nicolas Maduro. Since January, only one Russian tanker of oil has made it to Cuba. In fact, it landed just a couple of days before I landed. And one tanker has enough oil basically for 10 to 14 days of Cuba's oil needs. So it's a very limited amount of time. Now, Russia has said they're going to send another tanker. I was in conversations with the ambassadors from.
There it is. I was in conversations with ambassadors. We'll let her finish, then we'll explain the problem.
Mexico and some other places, and I know other countries in Latin America are trying to figure out how to get oil there, but it is a crisis beyond imagination. Just this past Friday, on May 1st, Trump signed a broad executive order that widens sanctions and allows for new penalties, similar to what we have for Iran and Russia, against foreign banks and firms that are dealing with Cuba. And it also reinforces the ban on U.S. tourism. I have called these sanctions an economic bombing of the infrastructure of Cuba.
Fuck off.
It is illegal. It is against the war. We've been talking about this in Iran, obviously.
We do this
to
shit all the
bomb
time,
the
Lee.
infrastructure
Not
of any
economic
country.
bombing.
That is against international law. This is essentially doing the same thing. It is bombing the infrastructure of Cuba with economic sanctions that essentially ensure that the
Do you not
infrastructure
understand the fucking
collapses.
point of sanctions, lady? Holy crap.
Josh got it.
Logan
Logan Act.
Yeah.
Yes. You remember when John Kerry was just running around trying to do his own foreign policy when he was not a member of the government? I think it was under W.
Vaguely, yes. I
Never
do.
got prosecuted for it, but he's trying to negotiate peace deals and negotiate energy deals and do stuff with Iran when he's not even an official member of the government. Yeah, that is against the Logan Act. What she is saying that she did is also extremely against the Logan Act.
I know I've heard the Logan Act. I completely forgotten at this point what
It basically says you are not allowed, a U.S. citizen or a U.S. Congressperson, senator, nobody is permitted to go
any
around
American
and do their
citizen.
own foreign policy, meeting with other ambassadors and other governments, trying to subvert the foreign policy of the United States. Chad, you could probably explain it better.
Yeah, the Logan Act actually applies to any citizen.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's not. It's specifically crafted to. There's also, this is the reason you may have heard RFA is registered foreign agent. If you take money from a foreign government and you speak, you have to register as a foreign agent to to make it clear that you are speaking in the context of having been paid. That's
Tucker.
Tucker. That's also how they were. That was the basis of one of the ways they were going after Lauren Chen.
Yeah,
with tenant media, whatever the.
Even though that was the Canadian government, and she's Canadian.
Well, no, the U.S. government was doing the investigation.
No, it was Canada.
At the FBI raided her because she was living in Tennessee.
I don't know.
But
it was Canadians going after her.
Well, it was also because like Tim Pool and other Americans were under the umbrella of her company getting paid.
Right.
Yeah.
My understanding was the Canadians went after her. The FBI was basically saying, we're contacting you guys outside of Lauren, everybody else that was involved, to let you know you were the victim of a scam. Because that's what they told Ruben. That's what they told Tim Pool, is you were the victim of a scam. And it was the Canadian government that was doing the investigation, I believe, on Tenant. But maybe. I don't remember everything completely right. So, but it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, regardless, the Logan Act is, and it's a very tenuous. No one's ever been prosecuted under it. It's
although Kerry should have been.
No, the Logan Act is bullshit. It's not going to hold up if it ever went to court. It flies in the face of the First Amendment, in the fact that the First Amendment guarantees the right for you to have free political speech. Inherent within free political speech would be the idea that you can speak about foreign governments and possibly in favor of foreign governments if you feel the American government's stance towards them is wrong. So there's a reason nobody ever gets prosecuted by it. They only get threatened by it. So thinking back to General Flynn, right, when he was the national security advisor incoming with the first Trump administration, they came to under the purposes of the Logan Act to interview him as FBI agents. That was where the conspiracy to set him up was put in motion by the previous Obama administration and Comey when they sent FBI agents, and they basically created an entrapment situation because what they charged him with wasn't violating the Logan Act. It was lying to a federal agent.
Right.
Which is why you never talk to the FBI, or anyway, get a lawyer, have the lawyer provide things, because if you say something and you omit details, they can decide that whatever you omitted, even if you thought it was not relevant, it would be it was material
omission.
to the
Lie by omission.
Because the requirement is it's supposed to be a material lie, like that the lie you said was material to the investigation, but the government gets to decide what's material. So anyway, so that's what they usually use. The Logan Act is a predicate to create process crimes, is what it's used for.
Right, but she's also going beyond speaking out about a government.
Yeah.
I know, I'm just
Yeah.
clarifying a point. She's
Yeah.
going beyond speaking out about a government and actually trying to conduct her own foreign policy with a government.
Yeah, we've had politicians
With multiple
do this and politicians have done this for umpteen years. They tried to go after Tulsi for doing it when she went and visited Syria as a congresswoman. The Logan Act to me has always been bullshit. So if I was a politician, I would actually say, go ahead and fucking charge me with the Logan Act. It will raise my profile. It'll it'll Streisand affect me so high that I could, if you're a Democrat and Trump Logan Act charges you, you're immediately probably in the top 5 for presidential contention. For the nomination for the Democratic Party. So I don't think this is a big deal. I understand, but Democrats have been doing this going back. I mean, Ted Kennedy in the 60s and 70s was pro-Russia. I mean, obviously, if you're a student of history, you know that once the Russia fell and we got access to the KGB files, we knew that Ted Kennedy was actually on the payroll for the KGB, and nothing came of that, even though he was still a sitting senator in the United States when that came out. I mean, he also murdered a woman, allegedly.
We didn't have a problem with him letting girls
so
drown in Chappaquiddick.
FYI, if you run off a bridge because you're stinking drunk and the car is sinking but not sunk, and you swim out and you go to a payphone and you call your lawyer first as the woman who was passed out in the car is still in the act of drowning, you're probably guilty of manslaughter, and you should be brought up on charges unless your name is Kennedy and it's Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Then you don't get anything. Or if you're Ted Kennedy,
Then you just go back to the party.
No, I was going to say, or if you're Ted Kennedy and you're a sitting senator of the United States, you can be going to a fucking spring break party at the beach with your grandkids as they are graping women and pretend like I was just drunk in the other room. I had no idea what was going on.
I was passed out. I'm a Kennedy.
Or if you're Ted Kennedy in a very well-known alleged incident, you can bend over and smack the butt of waitresses in the congressional cafeteria dining room along with other congressmen and not face any repercussions for that. There's all sorts of stuff where they got away. We
used
obviously
to be a proper country.
Books have been written on how the Kennedys got away with everything, but the Logan Act specifically.
Everybody but Robert.
Yeah. No, RFK. Well, he changed sides. There's a cardinal sin that you can't do. There's one thing you can't do. You can't switch teams. Switch teams. But the Logan Act, I think, is bullshit. I understand that that's something that we can say. And if I was Trump, I would send the FBI to talk to her to see if I can trap her in a process crime where she just lies about
if she
something.
promised anything to another government in exchange for anything.
Yeah, and then you can bring up like bribery is different.
Right. I think
know.
that's where the Logan Act actually tries to get to is if you're trying to negotiate with another country on behalf of the United States, but not on behalf of the actual, Secretary of State or president, then what are you promising in return for doing this thing for them? Is it a vote? Are you getting paid for something? I mean, I think that's where it typically goes in most people's minds is what are they saying that they could actually do for that country for all of this negotiating? But I don't know. It's not like Jayapal has any actual power. She's just another squad member and not even one of the famous ones.
So. Yeah, I mean, it's not like she shaved her head bald. You need to go big. You're gonna get noticed on the squad.
Yeah, you either got to have big boobs, shave your head, or wear a burqa.
Yeah, I mean, competing with a mannish troll. I mean, competing as a mannish troll. I mean, she should come out as transgender, like saying she's a trans woman. That would probably help her get vault the other other members.
Dead Man for $4.99 says, Brahma, you should watch the Joe Rogan Experience interview with Tim Burchett, one or the other, where he explains insider trading. Not illegal, but shady. Well, it's getting pretty interesting, all these oil deals that have been going on every time there's an announcement about Iran. But yeah. Let's see, which one are we going to give Dead Man? What have we not played? We've not played the other.
Lil Chad always wants more, and so do I.
I don't know how we ended up with multiples of her rather than multiples of the brunette.
No. Who created those?
Those are being done by DB Wild because Chad requested them. The AI chicks are ones that I had made with Grok.
Don't you try to act like the Bryce Dallas Howard content is not quality, high-end, amazing, helpful.
It ain't the jiggle physics of mine.
You can jiggle on two sides. It's fine.
So two things have come out about immigration in the last week that I saw. About illegal immigration. Did you guys see the stuff about the fines that are being given to illegals now that had received deportation orders and still hadn't left?
Oh, yeah. I remember that being brought up.
Let me bring this in. We're not going to watch the whole thing because it's a news report, and I don't need to hear her sob story. She's here legally. So we'll just play the first part of this.
Well, as President Trump's mass deportations roll on, his administration is also levying some pretty big fines against undocumented immigrants. One woman says hers was more than $1.8 million. NBC7's Shelby Bremer has her story.
It can often take years for people to adjust their immigration status through legal pathways. And as they wait, the Trump administration has started issuing heavy fines. So one woman in the green card process went to check her mail and found a massive bill.
No criminal record, no issues. She's just been trying to get this fixed for a long time.
That's how immigration...
Sorry, her criminal issue is she's here illegally. There may not be other things, but she's still here illegally.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crime itself.
Exactly, but they don't seem to want to count that as a crime, ever. So that's one thing that's been going on, which I think is hilarious because I'm trying to find the numbers on this. So this is not a new law. This law has been in force since 1996. It's a $998 per day fine for being in America illegally if you have received a final removal and deportation order, but did not get out of the country or evaded deportation. So it can be retroactively applied up to 5 years, which is how you get up to like $1.8 million or more. Which I think is hilarious, because if this is one of the tactics they take, then it's going to be a whole bunch of people just self-deporting again. Then the other tactic that they're talking about, they have not implemented this yet, but I think it would be hilarious if they did, because it would also lead to self-deportations, is the Trump administration is apparently trying to, or is looking into whether they can force banks to have to get citizenship details in order to open an account or to have an open account. So if you don't give an illegal any way to actually participate in the economy, they're not as likely to be sticking around. So here's the report on this. Let me make sure I got the audio. Yep.
Trump could soon force banks to take part in an immigration crackdown. What I mean by that is sources tell CNN the administration is considering requiring financial institutions to collect and verify their customers' citizenship status, something banks aren't currently required to do. One source says the new policy could come through an executive order. CNN's Matt Egan is following this story for us. So, Matt, what are you learning about how banks are responding to this possibility?
Yeah, well, Omar, this does appear to be part of the Trump administration's aggressive immigration crackdown. Sources tell CNN's Priscilla Alvarez and I that the administration is considering new action that would require banks to check the citizenship status of their customers. Now, this would be something that would actually apply not just on a go-forward basis, but also to existing customers, which is pretty stunning when you think about just how many customers the banks already have. Now, this action could also require banks to check a different category of documents than what they normally look at, including passports. Now, I do want to stress that nothing here has been announced or finalized. It's not clear here whether or not this would come in the form of an executive order or some other action. We reach out to
So yeah, everything else in that report is just them reaching out to sources. But interesting to me. I think that could actually get some people to self-deport. What do you guys think on that one?
I mean, it's a possibility. Well, I don't know. I could have a problem with the government arbitrarily reaching. It's not arbitrarily, but reaching into people's bank accounts like that. I think that sets a pretty fucking dangerous precedent.
It's not
is
actually
it reaching into the bank account, or is it just saying you must be a U.S. citizen to open a U.S. bank account?
So there's two different things we're talking about. If you're not able,
okay. If they're just preventing from opening a bank account, I'm fine with that. Because
so it would also be verifying that you're eligible. So people forget if you're working in finance at all, the Patriot Act requires that you actually prove citizenship or your bona fide right to be in the United States to have a bank account. It's designed to keep foreign nationals, possibly, Saudis, here, going to a airline flight school from getting large cash deposits and such. They passed that after 9/11. If anybody's worked in if you go to your job and you do a health savings account, you have to actually have your documentation provided to open the account in your name and prove you're a citizen. So that's not a new rule at all.
Yeah,
it's
like
been around
here,
a long time.
I'm not sure if this is Colorado taking it further than other states, or if this is the actual national law. But yeah, pertaining to like cash deposits, like you were saying, I must present an ID every time I make a cash deposit. Doesn't matter if it's $5 or $500. Mm-hmm. If you're depositing any cash, you must present your ID.
That's one thing I always thought was kind of funny, is that if you're depositing into a bank account, why do they need to verify that you're the owner of the account?
It has to do with money laundering, is how they've explained it. But,
well, I know a lot of the banking stuff.
You can't go make a deposit on behalf of somebody else if it's in cash.
Yeah, because I know that because
that, by the way, is must be a Colorado rule, because you don't have to do that. Now there are rules regarding what's called structuring, where there's deposit levels where where the bank has to add scrutiny. That used to be $10,000 or higher in cash.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the war on drugs has changed a lot of banking laws.
Now,
like
this, if
you
recall,
can't withdraw more than like 10 grand from a bank account.
Yep, exactly. Or deposit. You can't
Or-
do either.
yeah,
Most banks aren't
both.
keeping enough on hand for you to withdraw more than 10 grand without you calling in advance to tell them you want to take cash out.
But
Because
anyway,
the vaults are empty of cash.
well, yeah, that is, I mean, for the most part, the case. But one of my largest issues, if you look at what happened, granted, this is the UK, what happened with Dankula when he got fined and he refused to pay it, the government literally took the money from his account. I got a problem with that.
Yep.
Yeah, so the U.S. can pull that off too through civil
States can pull
forfeiture.
that off as
Yeah.
well. Because
I have
we had a story
massive fucking problem with that.
just a week ago, I believe we had a story of a woman in California who Oregon had decided to go into her account and pull out like $22,000 because they said she owed taxes in Oregon where she has never been employed and never lived. But somehow they had her name and they were able to get her banking information to then manually take the taxes out of her account. And then when she complained about it and said, I've never lived in Oregon, I've never worked in Oregon, what are you, where are you guys coming up with this? They said, oh, our mistake. We should be able to refund it in about 6 months.
Yeah. 6 months. Yeah, even though we took it yesterday, it'll take 6 months.
Yeah. Good luck making your mortgage.
Yeah, eventually. So there's all sorts of nightmare stories regarding civil asset forfeiture.
So yeah, civil forfeitures. Yeah,
it's one of the worst policies.
Yeah.
Well,
and again, that's because of the war on drugs. Because like if you have a bag full of money in your trunk, you get pulled over and a police officer says, hey, I want to search your car. And then it's like, oh, what's in this bag? This is suspicious. And oh, look at all this money. I'm going to seize it. Because
Well, it goes further back than the war on drugs. It goes back to organized crime and RICO and a lot of other concepts that they ended up adopting in the war on drugs. I mean, RICO laws, as someone of Italian descent, it's not personal. It's just, I just want to say RICO laws are they're kind of bullshit, but I mean, they've been around for a long time. I mean, under RICO or racketeering laws, they effectively, if you are a person of interest regarding organized crime or criminal activity, they can cause your entire associated family or business entities to have to forfeit and become subject to the investigation and penalties as a result of the other person. So you could be 3 steps removed and have absolutely nothing illegitimate about your business operation, but RICO allows them to go after it. Yeah, so I mean, RICO, by the way, is one of the ways
it also
I think
goes after 1%er biker clubs.
Yeah, so the reason they had to do RICO laws is obviously because in the old days, prior to the 70s and 80s, when the mob guys were getting high on their own supply, it was incredibly hard to get any mob made person to flip on the organization. So they were trying to add additional pressure points.
Right. Well, I mean,
additional ways to get to the higher levels.
That's kind of the funny thing about the whole thing with the mob. Even like Al Capone, the FBI didn't nail him. It was the IRS.
It was the Treasury Department. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Elliot Ness was a Treasury agent.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
they got him on tax fraud.
Yeah.
No, Treasury was responsible for enforcing prohibition comics. Just like Secret Service used to actually fall under Treasury as well until it was reorganized under Homeland Security.
That's why Secret Service is in charge of counterfeit money.
I think that's been moved. When they realigned it, it's no longer a Secret Service operation. Now,
but
on
for
the other
longest
hand,
time, that's who was in charge of counterfeit stuff.
I'm going to be honest. The Secret Service was a much better run organization when it was under Treasury than it has been under Homeland Security. Because when it was under Treasury, it was one of the pinnacle positions to be in the Treasury, right? Being the Secret Service was the end all be all. Under Homeland Security, it just became another security entity, like run under Homeland Security, and they TSA'd Secret Service. You work instead of the other agencies moving up to the standard that the Secret Service had, the Secret Service casually moved down to the standard of the other Homeland Security agencies.
Yeah, comics. I don't know if you remember in The Untouchables the scene with Costner and Sean Connery when they first meet, when Costner litters, and he basically says, Connery says to him something like, "Well, what do you do?" He's like, "I'm a Treasury agent," and Sean Connery is kind of like, "Okay," and starts to walk away, and he's like, "Wait, you don't even ask for proof?" And he's like, "Who would claim to be that when they weren't?" Because nobody would claim to be a Treasury agent.
That's funny.
Going after Al Capone, but yeah, I think it's an interesting avenue to try to ramp up some of the deportation stuff. I mean, because there's only so many people you can manually deport. Pullman's only capable of doing so much.
The easiest way,
especially without any cooperation. But if you make it to where they cannot function in society, they're going to have to end up leaving on their own.
Well, the easiest way to do it would be
right, Marks.
To enforce employer requirements. Like, go after the employers. There's fines you could go after employers.
Yeah. And those things are on the books too, just like this thing where they were fining 1.8 million, because that is on the books from 96, which means that was the Democrats instituting those. Trump is just using them as an enforcement tool now. Almost everything that is being complained about right now is stuff that was implemented by Democrats, because at one point they were actually the ones calling for everybody to be deported. It just flipped when they figured out replacement theory.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, chaps, I got to bow out. I'm exhausted. So
yeah, but good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. As always, good to see you guys. And yeah, we'll
look
talk
forward
later
to
this
you hosting on Friday Night Tights.
Since you're a backbencher.
Of course. Yeah. No.
Yeah. We'll go check out Comics Division tomorrow night on his channel, and then I will be there on Thursday night. So have a good night, bud.
Take care. See you guys.
Later.
All right. So I've got just a few things left. So I've got some insane lib takes or leftist takes. And then I've also got Nick Shirley talking to some Muslims, just showing us how absolutely crazy it's going to, why it is crazy to have them here. But let's start with some insane lib takes. So
okay.
I am assuming most people have heard of David Pacman.
What on?
Have you heard of him, Chad?
Why does the name sound really familiar?
Twitch debater, has a goofy looking face with eyes way too close together.
Yes, I do. Yep.
Kind of like Destiny, only, Destiny's insane. This guy's just annoying as hell, but also dumb as a rock. So this whole little talk is, him with his people in chat. What are we going to do with Trump supporters after we get rid of Trump?
What on earth do we do with the Trump supporters once Donald Trump is gone? We have to figure it out.
We need to put
now,
them
at
in
some
camps
point,
type
whether it's
connotations.
sooner or later or kind of soon or, whenever. The Trump era is going to end. Trumpism may continue. We don't know yet. The damage from Trump will last beyond Donald Trump's presidency.
Also.
But at some point, Trump will be gone. And when that happens...
Because we've gotten so used to pointing these things out on the speakeasies, and because Destiny is also like this, I hate the way this guy's mouth moves when he talks. It's all over the place. Kind of like Destiny's jaw is always going side to side to side.
Destiny's, I swear.
Or the Reddit moderator is, the lips are just kind of completely insane.
I mean,
Pac-Man's got a little bit of that going on.
I don't want to, say too much with Destiny, but I feel like, have you been?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Meth Mouth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you been consuming?
It's too many amphetamines, and he's got the crazy jaw going, in my opinion. But that's alleged.
There is a question that it doesn't seem a lot of people are thrilled to be dealing with, but we're going to have to deal with it, which is what do we do with the tens of millions of people who voted for Donald Trump, sometimes not once, not twice, but 3 times? Now, I am not talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about regular voters, your neighbor,
Just
your
to be
cousin,
clear,
the guy.
I'm talking about people who just voted for somebody, not even the actual politicians or any of the people in the cabinet. We're down to talking about what do we need to do with all the people who dared vote against us.
At the gym, the parent at your kid's school. Do we treat them like they simply made a political mistake? Or do we treat them like they participated in something so corrosive to democracy that we can no longer see them in a normal way anymore? I think.
So I bring this up, because it's got very, let's put them in camps type talk, and the usual Democrat stuff of we're making a list. And the other reason I bring it up is, if you recall, when everything about COVID came out, on the back end of it, that we were pretty much right on everything. Masks don't do anything. The vax is crap, and it's hurting people. All those things. Remember when we got all those articles that were like, well, we're sorry we got it wrong, but I mean, there should be an amnesty because we were really, we were super worried, and we just wanted the best for everybody. We didn't pay attention to anything that was in front of our eyes. But I mean, we should definitely get amnesty for our stupid decisions that we forced on everybody in the freaking country. And then immediately, when they think that they're back in power here, what are we going to do with these people? Should we put them in a camp? Should we, also at the beginning of the video, sooner or later, maybe much, much sooner, Trump's not going to be around anymore. It's like, do you guys not understand the whole rhetoric thing is just gotten to the point that, it's absolutely stupid. I mean, you're trying to get him killed. Now you're talking about all the supporters, and what, you're supposed to, just be put into prison or executed because you cast a vote the way you did? It's insane. Also, I'm not so sure they get into power in the next 20 years again. Not to any degree where they could implement anything, because as we've talked about, the districting, the census coming up, if you don't count the illegals in the census or you get enough illegals out, that changes all the numbers. All the numbers. So there were maps that people had generated and districts that people had generated for post-census based on what the estimates are. And it's like the Republicans come out with almost a 50-seat lead in every scenario where the census does not count illegals. Like, it's been rigged for a long, long time. And if you really look at the way this country sits, it is solid red, except for like 4 or 5 actual areas. Even some of the cities, like, some of the smaller blue cities in smaller red states, they're not even a blip if you're actually doing the census correctly.
One of the ideas I saw floated in the last week, I think, and it was probably in the last 48 hours, that made a lot of sense to me, and it was on X, and I just can't remember who had posted it, regarding municipalities, because we've hit a situation where one large city, depending on the population of the state, can end up dominating the entire geographic state.
Denver.
Yep. So one of the things I saw, and it's akin to the idea, I know that Razorfist has mentioned the state electoral college.
Yeah, I've called for it for years.
Now, so that's a good idea for protecting your state level government, but this actually works in a reverse in the idea that it provides actually good governance. I mean, because at a certain point, I don't like the idea of a city in my state being so poorly run that it becomes a cesspool of crime and villainy, to use the Star Wars quote.
Right.
So what they were floating was that if it reaches a certain geographic size or population threshold, the entire state gets a vote on their government. Like if you're running for mayor, instead of like if you're running for mayor of Chicago,
Of the largest city in the state,
like
then everybody gets to vote on it, not just
state
people
gets
in
to
that
do it.
city.
Exactly. Because your decisions in that city can end up impacting disproportionately the rest of the state. For instance, Chicago,
New York, Chicago.
Chicago's public employee unions get massive, say in the state benefit structure, which is bankrupting the state, which in turn makes them raise taxes on everybody else in the state to try to generate enough money
cover the pensions,
to pay those pensions. The rest of the state should have a say in who's running that city. And do you think that the government would probably be better if some of these other people were voted out? Yeah, they would be. I think that's a perfectly reasonable position. And on the other hand, I think that if I was in a Republican deep red state, I think Tennessee might be the most based run state at the moment. They immediately jumped on things. They're doing stuff to try to keep the issues of Nashville and Memphis to a minimum.
I think it's Florida, but that's because Florida has no blue left, really.
Yeah. So Florida,
or Oklahoma. Oklahoma is traditionally
Yeah.
solid red every single county.
But to a person, these states to a person, but to Tennessee, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama, all of them should be passing that state electoral vote immediately, whether they have to amend their state constitution to do it or whether they can just do it by plain law, because you have to put in safeguards. Because if Virginia is not the canary in the coal mine of what will happen, we are a slightly, by vote, we are a slightly purple state. By governance, they are running
53-48.
Yeah. And that's the thing is New England is a slightly purple region by vote. They are generally like 53, 54 in presidential elections, not 70 or 80.
Right.
And they run that thing with a fucking iron fist and prevent Republicans from having any say at really meaningfully at any level of federal government in New England. You might get, and that's why, again, I've said it before on the show, Red Queen of the North up there, I am not in any way, shape, or form ever running her out of Maine, because Susan Collins is the absolute best you're going to get out of Maine, where she can win a statewide election. And she, for the most part, when it counts, she's voting for the appointments and things we need. So be happy. Like she is not like Murkowski. Understand Murkowski is out of a deep red state in Alaska, where she is helping to make Alaska competitive when it shouldn't be, to protect her own power. Maine,
her and Mitch.
Yeah, so
if she didn't have Mitch, she wouldn't have had the protection and the money to run that campaign last time.
We'd probably have 1 to 2 more senators.
Yeah.
Because, and by the way, if that money had
better
been invested,
senators than what we've got.
If that money had been invested in those races, we might have also had Carrie Lake in as governor instead of Katie, whatever
Katie
her name
Hobbs.
is. Yeah, who is rigging things now for herself in advance again. I mean, hopefully the cartel investigation, her and Gallego are so knee deep in cartel exposure. I mean, I'm hoping there's investigations going on into that.
Right.
But so you take your W's where you can get them. We need to protect yourself from being taken over. Put that, if a Democrat wins a majority of the counties, perfect, good for them. The state clearly supports their agenda. Let them win, let them govern. I'm not trying to preclude Democrats from ever winning, but they should have to win a majority of the geographic territory of the state, not just there's a reason that in the old, within the Federalist Papers and a lot of the thought process at the time, there was, the tyranny of the majority as a concept. The reason they had to take the House and have a separating body in the Senate to cool down the people's anger if they were trying to move on something too fast. They described the Senate as the cooling saucer for the hot tea kind of thing. So I don't know. All right, is there feuds going on in the chat? I think something's going on.
No, we just got it. Lefty coming in telling us we're liars because you can't redistrict in the middle of the term.
You can
the
100%
redistricting fight
redistricting.
started because the Biden administration essentially stopped Texas from being able to redraw their maps at the census and then slow walked it for 4 years. And Trump had the DOJ just lift the restrictions so that the map that had been disputed was allowed to be just put in place. That was Texas doing its thing. What then happened is the Democrats decided to go ballistic with California, Virginia, and then they lost a Supreme Court case. So that's what happened. The maps are being redrawn because they were unconstitutional. Virginia lost because they did it unconstitutionally. This is not everybody just willy-nilly redrawing maps in the middle of the the 10-year term.
To Brahma's point, Texas was barred from redistricting in 2020, post-2020.
By the Biden administration.
Because of court orders through the Biden administration. So when they finally got that cleared up and were in a position to redistrict, that's where Trump was saying they should maximize Republican congressmen just like all the Democrat states do. Now, it was
the Texas redistricting which triggered the California thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the Democrats decided, well, we're just going to willy-nilly do it whenever we feel like then. Because Texas was forced to wait by the DOJ because Biden didn't want it redrawn. And then that restriction was lifted. That wasn't Texas just deciding in the middle of a decade, well, now we're going to do this. No, that was them being restricted from redrawing their maps constitutionally.
So they're
and then doing it once those restrictions were lifted.
Yeah, so to address a specific question, like there is nothing at all in the federal constitution to preclude a state from redrawing their lines, redistricting every single election. What people are getting confused about is reapportionment. So reapportionment is done every 10 years post-census, where because we cap the number of House members at 435, after the census, the 435 members are apportioned to the states, and then the states will generally have to redraw their districts because they either lose or gain congressmen. Now, what's funny is what no one talks about is there's many times where states do not gain or lose a congressman and they leave their maps completely the same because they don't have to redraw anything because they had 2 congressmen going in, they have 2 congressmen going out. No need to redraw a map. So,
and Darren, unless somebody's being disrespectful or cussing somebody out, you don't have to actually ban them. It's not a big deal. I don't mind a few detractors coming in. It gives us something to talk about.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not calling you out, Darren. I'm just saying, unless they're using language or being completely disrespectful to the people in chat, I don't care about banning people.
Yeah, and to now getting back to Zephyr's point, which is and then that reapportionment with the census, they are gaming that system because they are counting illegals on it, and that creates the population that in turn allows California to maintain the high number of congressmen they have because they have such a high illegal population that they then in turn maintain congressmen. I think, what was it?
Which was exactly what Katie Porter was just saying in that debate. That's the only way our state is growing.
Yep. after 2020, it was determined that the red states were effectively, because of illegal alien counting and errors on the census, screwed out of about a dozen congressional seats that would have been reapportioned from blue states.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why what we're talking about now is that by 2030, especially with the massive amount of growth post-COVID that Florida and a lot of the red states have had, I mean, U-Haul ran out of trucks leaving California, and God help them. Like states like Washington, when they pass wealth taxes, and California's talking about it, and New York's going to do it, there's going to be an influx of numbers. And the reason we think structurally this is not akin to demographics equal destiny kind of situation, but it's a kind of an offshoot. It's not because of the type of person like blacks, Latino, Asian. It's because of just population. The population is receding and reducing from blue states. It's gaining in red states. Structurally, with the Voting Rights Act now gutted, by 2030, when the next census is completed, conservatively, the red states collectively will probably gain around 20 to 22 seats out of reapportionment, where it's going to come from the traditionally blue states like Illinois, New York, California. Those seats will go away. And even
the
if
states that have mass fleeing and mass illegal immigration.
Yeah, so even if you have those other reds, even if the blue states continue to gerrymander maximum Democrat representation, they will lose enough seats that with the additional seats and with the Republicans finally growing a pair and, actually redistricting as they should, we are talking about structurally having 230 to 240 seats safe in the conservative Republican type camp. And that's why Brahma was saying that
I'd push it up to about 250, but yeah.
Yeah, well, there would be leans. There'd be some districts where you when you draw them even,
if you're talking specifically safe, then 240.
Yeah, we're talking like
there's 10 to 20 that would be lean.
Yeah, we talk about like the Cook political report would be like safe. I would say it'd be 230 to 240 would probably be drawn completely safe.
Right.
With that, 10 to 20 being in the more toss up lean Republican kind of category, where in a wave election they might be more vulnerable to losing. But structurally speaking, that would be another 10 years before reapportionment would happen. And unless people massively then leave red states to go to blue, which we'd have no reason to think that would happen, the just structural situation does not favor Democrat. And they know that. That's why they're so keen to try to get this shit in now. That's why they want to nuke the filibuster. They want to pack the Supreme
replacement
Court.
Theory has been a thing, and now they're willing to talk about it, when before they were like, no, replacement theory is a bad word. And now they're sitting there going, no, whites will be a minority within the next 20 years. This is great. And they're losing the minorities that they're bringing in because of ideas. But they've still brought in enough that they've put on the public teat that they're still going to get the votes if they're still allowed to be here or be counted. Because we all know they're voting.
Yep.
They're in every state where they're able to get a driver's license or a CDL, guarantee you they're voting.
And what was the thing? Oh no, that thing that never happened again, with people continue to be arrested for voting.
Yeah. Did you see Minnesota this week?
Yep.
Unanimously, the Democrats voted against purging dead people from the voting rolls. Unanimously. Just to purge dead people, verified dead people, from the voting rolls. What would be the possible point of keeping all the dead people on the voting rolls? They're telling you what they're doing. It's ridiculous. We're coming to the end. Is there anything else you wanted to cover? I mean, I've got a few more things, but nothing Nothing that's
dramatic.
real time sensitive.
We covered the biggest things, and I think we did get. I mean, obviously, we've got the shout out for the copy to get to.
Yeah, we've got a couple things to get to there, because Southern Belle had sent in something as well. If I can scroll back to it. All right, Southern Belle for $2 says Starmer will resign this week. I'm surprised he hasn't already, but he did vow that he was going to stick around. I don't think he.
Yeah, I fell for a breaking alert on Friday that said he had resigned, and I was like, it's
like 2 hours after everything. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's 100%. He is a dead man walking, because with Starmer at the top, they are just going to get massacred. So their hope is to basically pull a Trudeau, right?
Yeah.
We saw that happen in Canada, right? Trudeau was so associated with the negative situation that they dumped him and put Carney up there, and they managed to ride that and people being mad at Trump into a Democrat, a liberal.
I think that was the bigger thing is, yes, Trudeau is probably a sinking ship, but it's not that people like Carney. I think they were pissed off at Trump because it was a long shot to get, I can't ever pronounce his name, Polivier, whatever his name is.
Oh, he's a dumb. You know what he looks like? I forget which one, but he looks like one of the dudes from Kids in the Hall, and that's all I ever see when he's up there talking.
The one that always, the really, really gay one.
Yeah.
Not Kevin McDonald, not the guy who plays the
Buddy, who plays Buddy.
Shoresy.
Yeah, but I mean, can't you see it? Like, if it was a Kids in the Hall sketch, they would slick his hair back and just have him out there talking
and biting an apple.
Yeah. By the way, Kids in the Hall from the 90s, hilarious. People should go check it out.
I'm squishing your head.
They had no compunction.
It was
about
Saturday Night Live, but so much better.
And they made jokes that would be they would get canceled if anybody ever played the clips today. Like
Scott Thompson.
Something
yeah,
run.
Parrot Head got it.
Yeah.
Scott Thompson. The last thing I saw him on was Shoresy. He played Shoresy's dad.
Yeah, so
well, here's
to the bonny lasses watching. We salute you.
And then, of course, we've got longtime stream supporter and financial backer, Copy Kitty, in the house with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you very much, Copied. Good to see you. So Copied gets her very own clip.
Kitty donated again.
We need to get a few more. A few more clips, I mean. So Deadman says, panel, what about expanding the house? I actually don't know what the process is for expanding the house. It's just based on population, isn't it?
The house
couldn't there actually?
It's no the amount
it's
of
a ratio of people to membership, right?
It's well, that's apportionment right now. Because they capped it at 435 seats.
Then it becomes a ratio of that.
Yeah, so that was all right. So that was passed in 1929. It was a law. The Congress passed a bill setting the permanent number of members at 435. Just a simple majority, no requirement for a supermajority, no constitutional amendment. So they'd have to pass a law, and they'd have to basically have it signed. The issue that it would come in, the reason Democrats aren't going to push for that is because it's still going to have to be apportioned by the census. So if you made it 1,000 members of Congress, it's still determined by where the population lives. And if most of that population is now moving to red states, you're still going to run into the same issue where by apportioning it by population, you're going to still end up with a majority in red states instead of blue.
Isn't that apportionment also the exact same as what the Electoral College number goes by?
Yeah, well, the electoral college is based on the congressmen and senators, so
Exactly.
it would completely change them. I mean, it would just change the number instead
It
of
would change the
279.
amounts for each. Yeah.
Like if you changed it to 500 members of the House plus
Then
the
it would
100
be 600
senators,
electoral college
and,
votes because
you know,
500 plus the 100 senators.
yeah, so the majority would be 301 to 299 to
Right.
win the majority. It's one of the unless
It
they
doesn't make
change
any sense to really change it. I mean,
Now-
you're just diluting and getting more idiots into politics, and I don't
now
think we
here's
want that.
now here's how you can expand it and create a different, adding territories as states, create like making DC a state, making Puerto Rico a state, you know, like that's where you're then shifting it, because those are very liberal places. You're likely to get Democrat members of Congress out of it, so you're gonna gain Democrats by adding territories as states. Because even if
Right.
you keep the number, regardless of what you set the number of House of Representatives at, you're going to have it. Now, the issue that they run into is they already don't have a lot of office space for the House members that are there. They pretty much 435 was set because that was about the maximum they can
They
properly
can actually
handle with their
give
facilities.
offices to with staff
Yeah,
in
so
the actual Capitol building.
Yeah, so they'd end up having to build whole new wings of offices. I mean, and then, I would trust Trump to do it. He's already fixed the reflecting pool.
After what, 15, 20 years of
I
it
am
being-
I am amazed that people are they're mad at Trump because they're like, he gave a no bid
we
contract.
liked our freaking algae.
Yeah, he gave a no bid contract to to a pool company to fix it. He was like, yeah, because Obama spent $40 million allegedly fixing it when he was president. Biden, the same problem. It was leaking. It still had all the problems with cleanliness. And Biden wanted $300 million to fix this pool. And Trump came in and he got a company that specializes in pool repair and this kind of for $6 million to fix it completely. And they're like,
and that's a problem.
Yep.
I think we also got some more memberships. Let me go back up. Robert Lowry comes in and donates another 5 Brahmabull memberships. Thank you very much, Robert. Let's give Robert, I think this is the only one we haven't played yet.
I don't always watch YouTube for politics, but when I do, it is the Bullpen with Brahmabull and Lil Chad.
Got to get rid of that crap.
I mean, I don't I'm not as opposed to it, obviously.
Of course. So I did have some other clips. I don't think we'll play the clips, but we might just quick touch on the topics. So, bad judge. The judge in the case for the Trump attempted assassin apologized to the
that
freaking
douchebag,
attempted
yeah.
assassin. Obama appointed judge, first Pakistani American judge on that circuit, and he immediately is apologizing for the circumstances that the guy has to deal with in the jail because he's been put on suicide watch, and people just aren't being very nice to them or to him. So, very bad judge. Good judge. Cameras are going to be allowed in the courtroom for the Charlie Kirk assassination hearing, which kind of bad judge. It was supposed to start this month. It's been moved to July. So we will be definitely keeping an eye on that in July when it starts. And another good judge thing. 9 members of the Antifa terrorist cell down in Alvarado, Texas, who didn't try to. I believe they actually did shoot a cop in the neck. Were all found guilty. So this is the first group of Antifa that, as a group, they've been found guilty of, I believe, actual terrorism charges. So good cash Anything to say on those?
The judge, he was, because he even brought up January 6th when he was talking about the
Right.
dude.
Zia Faraqui, I believe is his name.
He's such a douchebag. This is why, by the way, I had said the Democrats, if they appealed up to like the Fourth Circuit, which is the federal courts in, like the Virginia, D.C. area, they would have had a good way to get out of the current map of Virginia without having to do any of the shenanigans.
Right.
It's judges like that is why I think that. So.
Yep. And I do want to play this one last clip before we end regular show and then go into maybe a little bit of after show since we haven't for a few weeks. Let me just get it set up. So this is Nick Shirley doing some more of his Nick Shirley journalism. This time he is out talking to some protesters that are Islamic men. Which he asked them, basic, fair question. And their answers should chill everybody who lives here to the bone.
Now you have all these Islam men yelling Allah Akbar. I have a question for you guys. If America were to get in a war with a country like Iraq, who would you guys defend, America or Iraq?
We won't get in a war. That's not permissible for us. But at the same time,
who would you defend first?
We would support our brothers in Iraq. That's the only way.
So you wouldn't defend America?
We would not defend America.
But you're American.
But at the same time, listen. At the same time, America is our country because we were born here. But in our Islamic book, we're not allowed to fight with people that are against our religion. So we just take up the.
We are not allowed to fight with people who are against our religion. Sure. Yeah, like that whole conquest of Europe and the Crusades. No, that was completely against our religion.
So you would not. What we do. So you would not defend America.
I would go to jail instead of fighting for America.
And who would you defend if we were to go to war against a country like Iraq again, America or Iraq?
America.
And should that be a troublesome conflict of interest for somebody to be here in America that would rather support another nation like Iraq?
Anybody who supports another nation needs to live in that nation. This is a Christian nation. A lot of the Constitution is based off of the Bible. And how far the country has fallen.
Agreed. Don't know who the guy was at the end or why he was walking with them, but maybe he was just somebody else, kind of like Nick Shirley, out there documenting what was going on. But yeah, if your allegiance isn't to America, you probably shouldn't be here. That goes for the Somalians too. So
I agree. I mean, I might not have been educated.
There's not much
at a
else to
Leering
say.
Center,
yeah,
but I can understand that.
Yep. So I think that is pretty much the majority of what I had. I had the View Sonny Hostin going completely insane again, but we see enough of the View. And we had a British lady who says if she was given the choice between two islands and one contained patriotic white British men and the other contained Muslim men, she would 100% feel safer on the island with the Muslim men because nothing would happen to her there. Freaking idiots. So Chad, what do you got coming up?
Did we want to hit the chats that came in first?
Did we get another? Sorry, I was doing all the video stuff.
Yeah, it looks like we got two that I can see.
Uh-huh. So Jim WTX for $10 says, the desperation of Democrats is literally driving them insane to the point that they disregard laws just to get what they want. Absolute power. So frustrating. Also, another excellent show as usual. Thank you, Jim, and thank you for the $10. We'll give you, I think, chat's favorite.
All hail the bullpen.
Comment, I guess. Sorry, didn't hide the comment quick enough.
It was protecting us from standards and practices, so it was okay.
Yeah. And then Eric K comes in for another $1, says the Biden $300 million was to a no-bid Somalia-owned company. Shocking.
You can lear how to fix a pool too if you work for us.
Did you see there was another Sarah Gonzalez exposed the Somali woman? Well,
yeah, the one who was running
the Muslim
water
woman who
park
was doing
day,
the water park thing,
and she
actually had a leering center as well on her website. Yeah, Sarah Gonzalez went. That was hilarious because the chick obviously had no idea who Sarah Gonzalez was before she went on with her, and Sarah was just like holding her feet to the fire, and the lady just goes dead silent. I retweeted it. If anybody follows me on Twitter, you can go see it there. For that.
Chad loves the Ottoman Empire. Brahma is an Islamophobiast, and comics is the smartest 5'10" midget ever.
What we didn't mention was the breaking news about the this week about the Utah Supreme Court justice, who was the one who wrote the opinion that gave the Democrats a seat in Salt Lake City by blocking the map that the state legislature had drawn and forcing them to have a basically majority district in Salt Lake.
I have not heard the news. If you want to explain it, I'm going to go smoke.
Yeah, so
and then you can go into your outro after you explain it.
She was caught having an affair with the lead plaintiff's attorney for the people suing the state of Utah, and she was the one who wrote the opinion. So there's all sorts of shenanigans that could end up being grounds to void the ruling because she clearly had a conflict of interest and was not unbiased on it. So that would be perfectly safe grounds as far as I'm concerned to challenge that, and that means it could be another additional seat pickup for the Republicans out of the redistricting fights. But I think she was caught because obviously divorce proceedings, they're the gift that keep on giving for politics. So fun fact, let me pull up I've got the news story. I'll pop it on screen real quick just so we can get the headline right. Utah Supreme Court Justice resigns amid probe into alleged relationship with redistricting attorney. The Supreme Court Justice Diana Hagan, her ex-husband filed the complaint in her divorce proceedings, alleging she sent inappropriate texts to David Raymond, who was the lead plaintiff's attorney for the Democrats suing on redistricting. Yay. Hopefully that could end up getting that net one more seat, because the Republicans in Utah had drawn a very strong map, and it was thrown out by this Supreme Court decision written by Diana Hagan. So now, that being said, that's another salvo in the redistricting war that came out this week. I know Brahma's smoking, so I'll just tell everybody, if you could, we would appreciate it. I host a show on Friday nights, the Ascendant Art Podcast. Brahma's usually there hanging out too. My co-host is Slender Dad. Mad usually makes his appearances as well. And if you could subscribe, if you haven't already, subscribe our latest video, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow the sub count over there. I think we're right around 333. We're hoping to keep getting closer and closer to that magic number of 500, because that is where YouTube will allow us to get some extra perks and benefits. And so I'd appreciate it if you could go over there. A sub doesn't cost you anything. I'm not asking you to necessarily contribute or send a super chat or do anything like that. But if you
let
could
him
just
earn the bell, but give him the sub.
Yeah, give me the sub, and come and sub, and then let me.
And we have a good
bell.
fun time over there.
Yes, we just started
Brahma's.
We just started a 90s rock bracket that Brahma created. It's a fun thing where we do it like an NCAA tournament bracket where we let the chat vote and the winner moves on. We did our first quadrant, first zone, first district last week, and we're going to do our second next week and so on and so forth until we go to the eventual champion.
And then we get gross Mads.
And then Mads 2000s one will be after that. And
Not
we work
rock,
other kinds
just
of
mad
trivias.
music.
Yeah, and we work other trivias. Oh, here, this was the, since I don't know if you were listening. This
Yeah, I was
is the
listening.
headline. Yeah, so divorce is always great fodder for political things. President Obama was president because of a divorce, because of goddamn Jerry Ryan, 7 of 9 from Star Trek fame, is the reason we had Obama as president, because Jack Ryan, congressman from Illinois, who was favored to win that seat as a senator, Jerry Ryan was unsealed all of their divorce records about him going to sex clubs and things, and Obama got him nuked from being the Republican nominee, and he just rolled Alan Keyes, who was the sacrificial lamb they put up against him, and then he became president.
So we'll address this real quick with the plans. So Dead Man for $4.99 says Brahma's in the closet. No, due to circumstances within the family that changed over the past few months, now there is a free whole basement. So I got to move inside from the garage, which means I can't smoke anymore during streams unless I sneak away. But so here's the plan. Yes, this is a closet. It was never designed to be a closet. We're going to take off all the closet stuff, turn it back into the alcove that it was. I'm going to put a portable bar, or not even really portable, just kind of an indoor bar in front of the alcove. And I'm going to move the desk back. So eventually, once I get everything done, I will have 2 corner shelves in the alcove that will be lit with all of my best bottles of bourbon. And then I will be streaming from across the room, from behind the bar, and actually standing, so I'm not so sedentary, because I spend way too much time in this freaking chair between work and streaming every night. So I'm trying to figure out a few different ways of doing things. And yeah, I'm inside now, so the weather won't be as affecting me as much, freezing or burning up. So yeah, the only downside is I can't smoke during the streams unless I start vaping, and I'm not a big fan of vaping. So, but yeah, give Senanard a sub, and also we are doing my bracket challenge. So I expect you guys to all come in and help me win the songs that I want to win in the bracket. Yeah, it'll be kind of like I am in the closet, Dead Man, but it's not going to be a closet anymore. Plus, I'm turning the whole basement into basically what I had in the garage. I'll have 4 or 5 TVs out here. I'll have my 8-seater poker table. I'll have my dartboard. I'm just turning the basement into the man cave. So instead of having it be the garage. But yeah, a sub to Ascendant Art. Also, numbers have been going great over here. But we would still like to get to 1,000. So share out the stream if you like what we talk about and think it's worthwhile, because there's a whole bunch of people in the political talk arena right now that are not doing anybody a good service. Tucker, Megan, quite a few others, Candace, and then all the other ones that have kind of flipped on Israel for, I think, Qatari money. I don't know, but I mean, basically, Megan came out this week and said that, oh yeah, Tucker's getting a whole bunch of Muslim viewership now. So, I mean, she basically said the quiet part out loud. We're doing this for the clicks, and if the clicks come from the Muslims, there's a lot more of them than there are Jews, so we're just going to turn on Jews, which I don't agree with in any way. So we're going to continue to speak the truth as we see it. And we're still not getting our 7,000 every stream. So, I mean, we're just doing it because that's how we actually feel. But yeah, spread the stream around, I really am going to try to start clipping out different sections so that there's some more bite-sized chunks of the live stream as videos. I've just got to find time between work and everything else. So that is the show this week. We'll give you some closing credits, and then we'll probably do a little bit of after show. Don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll figure out something. We always do.
Oh, was the roast of Kevin Hart tonight? I went and saw Tony Hitchcliffe at the Kennedy Center. He was for him, and he was hilarious. And he basically did the preview of his roast of Kevin Hart while he was there. But he had the whole Kill Tony crew there. It was hilarious.
What I can't figure out is Tony actually gay? Because he sounds so gay. And they joke about it and allude to it, but I've never been able to quite figure it out. Anyway, here's the outro. We'll be back for after show.
Outro.
Oh, we definitely have to shorten this one down too. Yeah, it's almost 3 minutes. I mean, it's to give us time to take a quick break in between the stream and the after show. And yes, we realize you can all hear us.
Should we talk over it still, though?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody can really hear us over the music all that well either way.
Chat, super chat to let us know if you can hear us over the music. $1.99 for yes, $2.99 for no.
Oh, now you're D-Day Cobra drifting with the $1.99.
People, I mean, it's a psychological anchor. That way they are like, it's less than $2. It's fine.
Zephyr says we should go pee. Well, it's too late now. There's only, what, a minute 45 left. Corporate media is feeding you a carefully designed revision. Weedy antidote to all the manufactured television. Bureaucratic nightmare navigating through the slow decay. Congress moving at a pace designed to keep the wolves at bay. Executive decisions, Supreme Court rulings on display. We covered every angle, no cap. I think the new set will legislation passing in the darkness of the midnight hour. Lobby is manipulating every center of the power. But we're watching every movement from our independent towers. Posing all the corruption while the mainstream media.
I have a lot of dreams of my setup that eventually, with all the disposable income, will come to fruition.
Yeah, except you don't go on camera.
That doesn't mean I shouldn't have all the stuff.
All the stuff. I've got to start figuring out how to show the bourbon on stream more so that I can write it off on my taxes as a business expense.
Wouldn't drinking it do it?
Yeah, but I've got to show what I'm drinking and how much of the bottle is being used during the shows, and then include the cost of the bourbon. So I've got to actually start keeping records of my bourbon and my drinking, which doesn't seem like a good idea. But it would save me a lot on my taxes because the Bullpen purchases quite a few bottles of bourbon. Fenris, you would think I could just install a good vent fan, but I have a wife. She does not care at all for, and she's a smoker, so she does not care at all for the idea of me smoking down here. All right, so we're back for the after show.
Nice. I think your lookalike, by the way, down in Texas is not going to make it through the second round of primaries. Is not looking as strong for him.
For Attorney General?
Yep.
Is it Paxton?
No, Paxton's running for Senate.
Senate. Who is he going up against? I can't remember.
Looking it up now. He is running for Attorney General. Come on, news. I should Texas Attorney General. It's a 4-person race. Why isn't it
Chip
so
Roy's
easy?
had some bad takes, and he's had a lot of good takes, but he's had a few bad takes. By the way, during the
Mays
credits,
Middleton.
Parrot Head.
But,
yeah, I don't even know who that is. Parrot Head for $2 said loud and clear. Yeah, we know you can hear us during the credits. But loud and clear gives us.
MAD, man.
No, don't back out. Where's my layers? Oh, I need to go back to dynamic. That'll do it. Let's.
I have a ton of thanks to give, and it could be all yours.
It's not a bad idea. All right. All right, so Jim has a firearms questions, if he may. Thinking of getting either a P226 or a P365. Any advice? And that's a good question. A lot of people have soured, no pun intended, a little bit on SIG based on the P320 debacle.
The one that goes off on its own?
That has a tendency to fire on its own. I am a P320 owner, so I can't really fault you for maybe discounting my advice. I did purchase it when its first initial months out before the issue was known. The real difference is a P226 is a kind of more of a full-size firearm, and the P365 is a compact carry firearm. It's a compact double stack. So they're really two different purposes. It's really what you want it for. If you are just wanting a self-defense weapon and you're not actually going to be concealed carrying outside of the house, the P226 is absolutely the better call. That is a tried and true platform famously used by the Navy SEALs, whereas the P365 is going to be the optimum one if you're actually looking between the two for a concealed carry firearm, because it is a small double stack 9mm, and you can even carry it. It has a spot for a red dot. I believe it's got the optics cut standard now, and you can carry it. There's all sorts of ways to carry it. The ecosystem for it is very large because it's a very popular carry pistol. So I would say it's just kind of what you're doing it for. If Jim's still in the chat, if he can tell me which is the reason he's wanting to get it for, I can tell you. I mean, you may already know from what I just said which is the better answer for you. I will tell you.
I own guns. I am not a gun guy. Chad knows far more about it than I do.
Yeah.
I've got an AR and I've got a handgun, and it's a Taurus, and it's a 40 cal.
I will tell you right now, if you're just looking at getting a solid functional handgun at a good price, because Glock is replacing their entire lineup of firearms with newer models that are not allegedly susceptible to being modified with a Glock switch. Glock has a ton of firearms in a very low price point you can get. Let's see. So Jim clarifies, yeah, I'm wondering if the full size would be better than the compact. The full size will absolutely be a better firearms platform.
More effective,
easier to handle and shoot accurately if you are just using it for, regular purposes. The downside is it's much harder to conceal carry. But anytime you're looking at it, a full-size pistol is going to have better ballistics and better accuracy compared. A lot of people.
I would also say make sure you get very comfortable with the gun and take it out, do a lot of shooting with it before you start deciding to carry. I don't carry because I don't get out enough with my gun to feel comfortable with carrying because I am not.
Mhm.
I have not spent enough time with it to feel like I would be effective with it in
Yep.
a carry situation.
I would say at a minimum, if you were gonna carry, if you were getting in the firearm, you would want to put anywhere from probably 250 to 500 rounds through it before you should be comfortable with it as a carry firearm. Not necessarily like having it as a self-defense weapon at home in one of those situations. Gun talk, are we even allowed to talk about those in states still? Yeah,
not really in Colorado.
Apparently, with YouTube, as long as we don't show them, we should be okay. But if you're going to conceal carry, the firearm you're carrying, you should absolutely put hundreds of rounds through before you make it your everyday carry firearm. Because like Brahma's saying, you shouldn't feel comfortable with it because you've got to get used to magazine changes, drawing from the holster. You're going to be in a heightened tension situation if you ever feel like you need to use it for self-defense. So one of the things you should do, this is a trick that I learned from some guys who were in, military and worked with special forces when they were getting ready to do like pistol qualification. They would have the guys, they were at a gun range with like a stairwell. They would have them go running up and down the stairwell 10 times before, and then rush back in, grab the pistol, and then start shooting. So their heart rate would be really high up. And they would have some, because when you can't really, and even that isn't necessarily simulating what it's like to be in that kind of situation, but
it's just getting the blood rate or the heart rate up.
But it still raises blood pressure, gets your heart rate going, because in a heightened defense scenario, you're going to probably be having that. I mean, there's lots of stories, cops who are allegedly qualified on guns, when they're in a shooting, they're going to have a 15 round magazine. They're like, they emptied their magazine. The suspect was shot 4 times.
Right.
Like, think about that. That's a police officer emptying his entire magazine, his or her entire magazine,
hitting 4 out of 50,
and maybe 4 out of whatever times. Like one of my favorite examples of this, not because it was a good situation, but there was like 6 or 7 New York cops. They all emptied their entire magazines, and the suspect was shot like 4 or 5 times. And I think the actual amount of rounds fired was like 80 to 90 rounds between the guys. And it was like, think about and they were about 15 feet from the suspect. I mean, Jesus, think about the accuracy to do that. So you should absolutely train with, and this is the right answer that I got from when I did my first firearms training class, because the trainer got that question, like, what is the best firearm for me to use? And the trainer was like, the one you're most comfortable with.
Right.
If that could be a revolver for some people. That's why some cops, like, the Dirty Harry example, he had a 6-shot revolver. That's less, it's less ammunition, it's less shots down. But if you can accurately place them, that could be better for you than a 15-round semi-automatic magazine. Like, the reason the military, by and large, Army and such, switched from 45 ACP to 9mm is they found that even though 45 had more stopping power, the Marines were like the only guys who wouldn't switch off the 45. But the Army, they're like, the stopping power isn't as important if you can't actually put rounds on target. So we'd rather have a 9mm where you can put consistently almost the entire magazine on target than 45 where you might land 1 or 2.
Apparently this is where I should have smoked. I might have finished the cigarette. And it's not even a comfortability thing with me with a specific gun. I do own a Taurus. The thing is, I don't get out enough with my gun in general, any gun. So I'm not going to start carrying if I haven't put in the time with the gun to have all the safety stuff and, just being absolutely certain that I'm being safe as a responsible gun owner.
Yep.
So, also, for those that stuck around, we're going to send a quick gift out since we're in the after show.
Yep. And rest in peace, Paul Harrell, one of the best gun tubers ever around. He did great work. So, yay, gifted memberships.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know. Should you, Brahma, give yourself your favorite video?
Oh, I think we know which one's my favorite.
All hail the bullpen.
There you go. Yep.
Although I prefer the redhead with green eyes. There's something just more mesmerizing about the brunette.
All right. Eric says, given my video game choices, I'm theoretically most comfortable with an auto rifle with a magnifying scope, but we aren't a serious country anymore, so we can't have those. Here's the thing, though. You can, outside of states that are, and I think in the next year that'll get changed by the Supreme Court, semi-automatic AR-15s are effectively the same piece of equipment that you're going to get from the military. They just don't have the switch to rock and roll, but to go full auto. But again, based on the statistics and the study of engagements, even the Army teaches their max out a 3-round burst for most of their infantry, but they still generally will teach their infantry to switch to semi-automatic and be shooting 1 round at a time. And at most do 3-round burst if you're doing suppressive fire and things like that. Because shooting 1 round accurately on target is better than shooting an entire magazine and maybe hitting 1 or 2. Because the faster you're emptying that magazine, the less accurate that firearm is going to be. As somebody who may have had a bump stock before a boating accident, that magazine, the less accurate. So again, I can tell you from having fired that, you're not putting the rounds on target. It's a waste of ammunition. That's why the Army took the full auto off of their AR-15s when they did the upgrade to the to the next generation, because they were just, as Davina's saying, they're just wasting ammunition and then running out of ammo for a prolonged firefight.
Over on the Rumble side, Darren was gifted a membership by Low Spec Lytics Gaming. Jeff Pearson. We'll go.
Thank you so much.
Something proportionally is wrong with her.
Does she, is her eyes, I think, does she have special people eyes?
I don't know. It's that and the wrist. The hand looks way too big and the wrist looks way too bony when it comes on screen. I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta make sure.
AI.
Yep, crazy cat guy. In the military, they always trained us to do 3 or 4 round bursts on automatic fire. Because if you rock and roll, you can get through a magazine in like a second and a half. And then you're only carrying the standard loadout for an infantryman, I think, is 3 or 4 mags. You're going to be out of those pretty bad. Jim, full auto.
Spray and pray.
Yeah, full auto is can be effective if you're doing suppressing fire to move forward and do or if you're in a World War II pillbox situation where you're just facing a wave of people invading something, like then it can be devastating. If you're a GI on D-Day, you're not full auto was very destructive to you. So,
yeah.
But outside
in general,
of that,
you're gonna, you're gonna be scattering shots. It's not boom, 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 boom directly in a straight line, your gun is going everywhere while you're trying to aim at one place. And there's a reason that they tell you to do the burst shots.
And I think so. Davina's pointing out the Fury round, which is the 277 or 6.8 by 51. I believe is the new cartridge being used by the Army in their modern combat rifle that is supposed to replace the AR-15.
What's up, Sammy?
It's the same. I mean, it's the argument that's been going on in the military since the beginning. Is it better to have higher stopping power, or is it better to have lethal,
accuracy
and through accuracy?
Well, I mean, this is going to sound dumb, but since every military thing that we see on TV that almost always has consultants, from the military saying this is how we would do it. They're not using fully auto hardly ever. I mean, it's literally handguns and rifles on at best 3-round bursts.
Yeah,
I know that's TV, but they do consult with the military on certain shows that are about military or, the police force, that kind of stuff. People who actually use the guns in action. And nobody seems to go for the fully automatic. Everybody makes fun of it because it is not effective.
No, I mean, it's if you...
In certain situations, like you said, it would be.
So
that's a wall of people coming at you where it doesn't matter where you aim, somebody's going to get hit.
I believe the most prolific instance of handgun of violence with a firearm, I think previous to Sandy Hook maybe was, and I think it might still technically have more victims than Sandy Hook, was Virginia Tech, where it was a student using a Glock where he just did 10 magazine changes, because a pistol is absolutely easier to move quickly with than a rifle. Rifles are better at distance. They are better at, when you're trying to keep...
Right, that's more like the bell tower shooter at the school. I can't remember which school it was.
The rifle is an
Texas A&M?
Yeah, depending on the rifle cartridge, you're talking about intermediate to long range. You're not necessarily doing close quarters. Now, rifles, there are close quarters. They're not necessarily called rifles anymore. Then you're talking about submachine guns, SMGs, or PDWs, personal defense weapons.
Right.
That's where you would be pulling like the P90 of Stargate fame, where it's very short, easy to move in and out of close quarters. There's the variant, the M4, variant that the Army uses. That's the stubby AR to be able to go, CQB, close quarters.
Right.
You don't want to use, that's why it's interesting. Like they're so worried about full size AR-15s when
it's because the color that they come in and they look scary. They're not really that worried about ARs. They call them assault weapons because they think they look scary, even though it's no different than a rifle.
Look, we got a membership chat.
Yep. 18 months of membership. That's 1.5 years. Free chat, just so I don't forget it again. Thanks for the show and hanging out. Thank you for hanging out with us. And Eric does it on all the shows.
Yep. Eric's great.
All the shows.
Eric's awesome. Appreciate Eric all the time because
the bullpen thanks you for giving that. I need more.
Yeah, Eric, that means I was going to say, that means he signed up right when Brahma got monetized. I believe that would have been tied right around the election.
It was June of, we're at
monetization.
95 episodes.
No, monetization happened like election day. Right around
before the election day.
Yep.
Because I had just gotten the first show we did was the Biden-Trump debate, I believe. And that when we kicked kicked the
Yes,
show
that's
off.
when we kicked it off, and that was we had
It got
Carrie on.
we got the amount of people a few weeks later, and then we did the election night stream, but that was in November. Election night may have been the first fully monetized stream that we did, because I told comics, no, you can't do the election stream. I'm doing it. So we had comics, we had Carrie, and then we ended up simulcasting all over the place. But yeah, it was right around election, I guess. But we're only 5 episodes away from 100 already.
We're gonna have
which
to
is
have an
crazy.
extravaganza. We got to invite guests. Robert over here. I didn't care for the open bolt on the Uzi. I prefer the MP5 only if you slap that shit when you reload. That's the whole fun of the MP5 is doing the MP5 slap. If you know, you know. And the Uzis are definitely acceptable if you're Chuck Norris and you've got them in dual shoulder straps during like Invasion USA or any of those movies. And you're just, shooting out Uzis, killing terrorists.
Jim, if you're a total noob about firearms, I would absolutely take a few courses. Inexpensive courses, especially if you're planning on carrying it at any point. I would take some safety courses and then maybe get a membership at a local range.
Yeah, I would also
put
say
out a ton of rounds.
Whatever
It's expensive to put out rounds, though, because rounds are expensive right now.
What you can do at home is dry fire exercises. It's perfectly safe in modern firearms. You're not going to screw up your firing pin. Get dummy rounds where you are loading your magazine and you put into the dummy round into the chamber and you practice, lining up the sights and shooting. There's even, if you want, there's even training stuff where it's dummy rounds, but it has a laser sight out of
that shows where you're actually hitting.
Yeah, out of the dummy bullet where it would show you being on target with it. And what you're going to be getting familiar with is the battery of operation, the manual of arms. That's a term that references being able to know the operation of your firearm, magazine change, discharging, clearing jams. Like one of the main things you should practice is clearing jams out of your firearm. You can look up YouTube videos where it goes over the different types of jams you may face out of your firearm. Stovetop, which is where the casing kind of doesn't fully eject and it looks like a stovetop hat, like sitting outside of your chamber there. So learn how to clear jams, learn the operation of your firearm, assemble, disassemble, get comfortable with it, because not everything works 100% all the time. I've been to the range a lot. I practice with my firearms a lot. Depending on the type of if most of us who are going to the range frequently are getting the cheapest shit to fire to just get practice with our firearms. So you're getting like cheap American Eagle, you're getting cheap Winchester, whatever, 9mm. And sometimes
You say cheap, but most of it's expensive, whether it's the cheap stuff or not right now.
$12.50 a box? That's not expensive.
It's still expensive here. That could be a Colorado thing, because they probably are taxing us into the ground trying to stop us from owning guns, because they are very interested in stopping us from having guns here.
Yeah, I mean,
your place too, but
that's going to be going into effect. But I'll just drive across the border and buy my ammunition in West Virginia.
Right.
And then,
then take it where your stuff is going to be.
I would. Yeah. So look up, how to clear jams, clear stuff, learn how to properly. And here's the interesting, when you first get a firearm, there's a break-in period. It takes a few hundred rounds to kind of work the springs, work the slide if you're doing a pistol, work the bolt carrier group if you're doing an AR. It's perfectly normal for it to jam or have issues earlier as it's working through that. If you're getting a new firearm, I would say my personal method is to go, you go to the range. First thing you do when you get a new firearm, you disassemble, clean it and oil it, because coming out of the factory, it's got a lot of chemical preservatives and other things on it that you may want to get rid of, and oil it very nicely. Then go to the range, put 50 to 100 rounds through it, and then take it home, clean it, oil it, go to the range, put 50 to 100 rounds through, clean it, oil it. And that's usually about where you've gotten in a little bit
like
of the basic
seasoning
break.
a grill.
Yep. You're going to want,
also, if you're putting on any sights or anything, if you're not familiar with guns, like I had my son-in-law go ahead and dial in the sights on on the AR specifically, because he's in the freaking Army. I mean, that's what he shoots guns nonstop. So I was just like, hey, go dial in the sights for me, because yes, I shoot it every now and then, but I knew the sights were off. Especially, I think we had put a red dot on there, but it was like, yeah, you go do it, because you know what you're doing. And that way, you know, you're shooting where you think you're shooting. But if you don't know how to do it, have somebody else who does know how to do it help you out. Gun owners are very willing to help other gun owners.
We love
figure
helping people
things
too,
out,
Yep.
especially if it means that they're going to be safer and,
yes,
you know, far less dangerous to the rest of the gun owners around.
All right. Eric he says, noob question for a book plot detail. Can revolvers skip chambers? Generally not in their normal operation. The way a revolver, if you decock a revolver and then you push and then use the lever to push the cylinder out so it can free spin, you can do the classic Russian roulette move where you spin you spin it and then you lock it in. But once it's actually in its firing mode, where you're pulling the hammer back and it moves one chamber at a time forward, fires, and then when you cock the hammer back again, it moves to the cocking action rotates the cylinder to the next chamber. So it would be very difficult, if it's operating as it should, to have your revolver skip a chamber,
to skip a full chamber to another chamber.
To an number
I
one.
would think the closest thing to what you're describing, I would think could possibly happen, would be it gets stuck in between chambers. But it wouldn't.
Which would be
go from. Say what?
I was going to say that, yeah, that would be and that's a malfunction of the revolver's operation.
Right, but you're not going to skip a bullet and go to the next bullet.
No,
that's two chamber moves. That's not getting stuck in between a chamber.
That would,
which
because
is far more likely in my mind, at least.
What Brahma's describing would be effectively a misfire on the revolver where it warped, or there was something that went wrong with the casing, and it had probably. There's a situation where, for instance, you can get what's called, if you ever look at ammunition, you'll see ammunition with the caliber and then the letter P next to it. That means overpressurized. That means it's a extra heavy load of gunpowder for that caliber round. A P plus, pressure plus, 38P. If you're doing that, if your revolver isn't rated for that level of pressure coming out of the round, you can get a lot of problems, because the metal itself isn't rated to handle that kind of explosive force. So also, that's the kind of thing where you could get a revolver misfire or problem. Jim says, I have a 25 auto, an old Beretta we inherited. Could I use that? I know it's not a thing anymore. If the firearm is in functional operation,
and the ammo is still being made, sure.
The problem, so 25 auto, 25 ACP, they're the same cartridge, generally interchangeable. The question is, do you want to use it? Because it's kind of an exotic round. It's not a standard functional, like when you go to a mom and pop gun store.
Real quick, while you explain this, because I've been a very good boy and it's been 3 hours and I've only had one cigarette. You're going to go get a cigarette. I'm going to go smoke.
Yeah. All right. So if you go to a mom and pop gun store, you're going to see 9mm on the shelf. You're probably going to see 22 long rifle on the shelf. You'll see 12 gauge, and you may see 45 ACP. as like these are the standard common American rounds, and you'll probably also see 223/556, whichever they kind of carry. You will be able to get 25 auto. I believe Palmetto State Armory and all, and the other one that you can order it. But let's see what 25 auto is running at the moment. ACP. It is for ammunition, ammo, shop all ammo. I'm not showing this on screen to avoid any issues with YouTube's current AI use system for filtering stuff out. All right, you are looking at, for 25 auto, for 20 rounds, you're talking about like $20, which is not a good price per round. If you get like just the range ammunition, you're talking about 50 cents a round. It's not the cheapest. You can get 9mm for usually about half that if you go for bulk, like range ammunition. So, but it's available. You could use it. If you've got that gun and it works, I would make sure the spring's good, that everything's, like the slide is working, the magazines are good. Magazines are one of your main points of failure because the springs will go bad eventually. And so you want to make sure the springs are still good to go. So stuff like that. Possible bullpen topic. The NRA GOA, which is Gun Owners of America rivalry, still a thing. I don't think it is a rivalry because Gun Owners of America is the one putting W's on the board and the NRA isn't. Let's see. I'm a little behind the chat. I'm going to work my way up. All right, I'm caught up. So anyway, more firearms questions. This is one of my hobby topics, so anybody who wants to get in that. I do enjoy sports and firearms and other things in my non-political and non-movie watching hobby time. I have a full freedom, a safe of freedom, and I've got extra special freedom still on the way. Let me check on my extra special freedom order to see if it's been approved by the government agency yet. Because last I checked, the waiting time was around 16 days, and I should be right around there. For extra special freedom that I purchased in January. And I am still waiting for a government agency to get off their butt to do their job. Hopefully they'll do that
before everything goes into
no, I'm
effect in
done.
Virginia, or?
Yeah, they didn't ban it, so I'm good to go. No. Let's see. He says it's pretty, Chad. It's pretty clean. I don't know about the magazine though. What you'll want to do is when you are taking it to the range to test it out, just like if the magazine's capacity is 10, do about a half load to make sure that the spring is actually cycling the rounds into it from as it's being fired. Because what happens is over time, a spring only has a certain amount of tension time before it wears out, like going all the way tense and then pushing up and then tense and pushing up.
You may want to address what Davina's saying too.
Let's see. As long as you're not firing hot rounds at a 25 Beretta, newer guns are often built for the higher pressure rounds, but are older guns. And that speaks to what I was talking about, making sure that it's rated for the pressure, the P rating, the heavy pressure rounds.
If he's a newbie, I'm not sure he's going to know how to figure that out.
What I would say is if you look up, just do an internet search with your make and model of firearm. It's going to, and ask
Rock.
and ask, because there's a lot of forums, especially, some of the gun shopping ones or Sportsman's Warehouse. where they're going to have specifically whether that firearm was rated. There's firearms Bibles where it has like the old, all the firearms manufactured by that company, and it'll say whether it's rated for over pressurized, etc. It'll have a pressure rating. And when you look at the ammunition, this is going to come up more when you're doing hardcore like personal defense rounds. Those ones are usually built to be hard to hit harder, hurt water. They should be noted on the package, like Davina is saying, plus P, which means over pressured. Like I mentioned earlier, it should have a P, a plus P, or something that delineates that this round is a highly pressurized version of that caliber. They don't always, though. Sometimes they're just like zombie killer 500s, whatever, and they'll just put, or famously like John Wick, it'll say dragon's breath because our shotgun rounds make fire. Ooh. Which is, by the way, completely useless in an actual self-defense situation. But when you're doing that overhead camera in a house, looks awesome when you're doing a fight like that.
Until you're falling down the stairs 4 times.
Well, that wasn't the dragon's breath issue.
No, it wasn't.
Last question is there any other round interchangeable with 25 ACP? No. This is not a situation like if you get a 357 Magnum, you can use 38 Special in it because the round's diameter are the same. 25 ACP is 25 ACP. You're using that. That's what it's built for that. You're not going to get another round in there. If you want round interchangeability, what you're going to want to get is a 357 Magnum because you can use 38 Special in that. And when I say you can't do it the other way. You can't buy something that's a 38 and use 357. You need to get the one that says 357 Magnum. You can get a 5.56 rifle because it can shoot 2.23, which is effectively the same diameter cartridge, but it doesn't go the other direction.
Most ARs.
Yeah, but you don't go the other direction.
ARs.
If your rifle only says 2.23, you're not going to want to use 5.56 because of the pressure again. A 5.56 is a higher pressure round, so you're not going to want to shoot it unless it's rated for it. Some 10, all right, so I see it now mentioned. Some people 10 millimeter and 40 caliber are very close, and some firearms will be built to handle both, but you're not going to want to do it. There's also some revolvers that are built to handle 410 shotgun cartridges in addition to Magnum rounds. Trust me, they're going to advertise that this gun can use multiple cartridge types. It's a little bit of a gimmick, so they're going to want to do that. The other option you would have is an AR platform. If you get an AR lower, you can get AR lowers for 5.56. You can get AR lowers for 9 millimeter. The lower is what can handle the magazine, and then the upper can just shoot whatever's coming out of that if it's rated for it. So you can do mix and matching on calibers for AR on the AR platform, but you do have to swap a couple components to do it. There's several pistols you can get, like I know EAA Witness, which is a European import. You can change the slide and actually then change out the barrel to go from 9 millimeter to 40 Smith & Wesson to 40 to 10 millimeter. But those involve switching components out. And then you use the rest of the platform as interchangeable once you change the barrel. And then the magazines are built to all use the same magazine well. They'll just hold different numbers of rounds. Depending on it, AR platforms are very interchangeable. But you're going to want to research that, because then you've got to worry about other components. And this is where I'm going to tell you that it goes beyond kind of the noob to the firearm range. If you start messing around with your AR to swap out and use different calibers, then you've also got to make sure that your bolt carrier group can handle the pressure of the rounds you're using. that the gas load is okay to do this. There's a lot of different things you want to just check on.
Okay, so meaning what with the different calibers on the AR? Because
So you
the
can
5.56 and the 2.23 ARs can fire both, right?
if it is rated as a 5.56 barrel. If the upper is rated to handle 5.56, it can do both.
Okay.
If it is
because I take 2.23 to the range.
Yeah, it's the cheaper
and
round.
5.56 would be the one that I would actually keep on hand. For
5.56 is the higher pressure round. So if your barrel doesn't say that it's rated for 5.56, if it says just 2.23 on it, you may not want, you may be okay, but it's not advised unless it's also rated. The exception to this is if your barrel is a 2.23 wild. If it says WYLDE, like it's a wild barrel, that barrel specifically is a heavy duty AR-15 barrel, and it can handle 5.56 in my experience, because they're usually built to be higher grade.
Yeah.
Barrels.
Mine can fire both, so I've always just taken 2.23 to the range if I go to the range, because I don't want to throw 5.56 through on a range. I mean, it's far cheaper to shoot 2.23 at the range than it is the 5.56. So,
yep. Then you've got and we're not even, so the AR platform is very versatile. You're gonna find, like some people are mentioning in chat, the AR-10, what's the difference between an AR-10 and an AR-15? The AR-10 is basically the AR-15 platform built for .308, which is a very high caliber hunting round. It's the .308 is the round that we used in the old Springfield rifles, in World War II. It's got stopping power, so you can use a .308 round you can get an AR-10. It's built to be what's a longer range, heavier hitting version of the AR-15. So you can build an AR-10 out into a what's called designated marksman rifle, a DMR, a longer range, hard hitting rifle. 2.23s are effectively what's considered an intermediate range rifle, whereas AR-10s are the long range ones. The new hotness in long range rifles is 6.5 Creedmoor, which you may or may not have heard mentioned before. I don't know if you have seen that. It's basically designed to be a compromise. It's a little bit lower than the like Stavina saying, the 308 is the equivalent of the 7.62 by 51 NATO round. You're pretty much able to fire both out of the same. They're not quite identical. Just double check the background on the firearm you're getting. If it's 308, that it should be able to handle 7.62 by 51. But they're going to sell it. They're going to tell you in the firearms manual that it's because they use it as a selling point. Because 7.62 by 51 NATO is a standard cartridge, and anything that's military standard you can get surplus and get cheaper. So
Davina has revealed herself to be not only hot, but also a little bit scary in this stream.
Yeah. But 6.5 Creedmoor is designed to be a very low recoil but still distance powerful shooting rifle. I think it's been getting some hits because it's been winning a lot of distance firearms competitions where people are doing 6.5 Creedmoor builds and rifles, and it's been winning competitions. But I mean, there are so many new rounds coming in. It's crazy. Like what we talked about earlier, SIG has just introduced the new round for the Army rifle they're using. This is where you got to look. This is the zombie apocalypse rule, which is if the shit hit the fan, like which ammunition am I going to be able to find plentifully? If things go wrong. The
Right.
answer to that is usually 9mm,
45.
22 long rifle, and NATO either 5.56 or the 223 round, because the most common American rifle used now is the AR-15. And then 308 and 45 ACP round out the top 5 lifts. 308 for hunting rifles and 45 ACP for most of the people rocking 1911s, like from
When
World
we
War
suddenly
II.
had the ammo shortage, the 40 was extremely hard to find.
Because it's sort of a bougie round, it's not as popular.
Yeah.
Because it was designed to be the compromise between 9mm and 45. Like, we still want stopping power like we get from 45, but we don't want the, but we also want the additional magazine capacity of 9mm. So we'll meet in the middle and make a compromise round, which is the 40 caliber.
Which I didn't really know that when I bought the 40.
Yeah.
The Taurus 40 just was awesome.
Yeah,
looking.
well, you should check to see if your Taurus 40 is. You should. 10mm and 40 caliber are very close to being interchangeable, and for some firearms they are. They'll let you use both. You should double check if your Taurus can handle 10mm.
Yeah.
Because 10mm, just like the NATO size, which is done in metric, versus the American size, which is not, the equivalent for 40 is 10mm. And 10mm is actually having a new wave of popularity because it's a slightly higher pressure round and some people are digging it versus the way they didn't dig 40mm. 40 Smith
Is
and Wesson
10 cheaper?
No.
Just more prevalent?
The ballistics of 10 are supposedly better than 40 Smith and Wesson.
Okay.
And so there's you can get a Ruger Charger in like 10mm. You can get a lot of PC carbines in it. So it's an interesting round. I know I have some friends who swear by it as their carry round. I'm perfectly fine with 9mm. The bougie round that I get into is 5.7, which is the P90 round. I like it because if I spend the money on the high grade self-defense rounds, it can penetrate body armor, and I just like knowing that in case whoever breaks in has
case
it.
somebody's breaking into the hotel.
Yep. Just in case that's.
What do you think about the Walthers?
I love the PDP. I have one. It's a fantastic, fantastic sidearm. The grip is amazing. It's modular, so you can change the sizes out very easily. The trigger on it is beautiful. It comes from the PDQ line. So it's got one of the best firing triggers. It's got optics cuts built in, meaning you can put a red dot right on it if you out of the box if you don't buy it with it already installed. It has aggressive slide cuts so that it's very easy to do the slide back when you're reloading. It has a great form factor. From when I got it, after oiling and cleaning it, it shot flat right out of the box. Aligned. It has night sights. Night sights are the ones where it has like the fluorescent-y like white dots on the back and the middle sight in the front so that it's easy to line up and see. And it's shot
like
beautiful. So if you,
I was just asking because that's the one that Crowder's had sponsoring for forever, and regardless of what people think about Crowder, he's been pretty spot on most of the people in the arena lately.
Does it like he has like an old Walther? He has like the James Bond Walther, doesn't he?
He has the Walther PPK, I think.
Yeah, that's the little one. Don't get that. Get the Walther PDP. Which is their modern.
But, he just promotes Walthers in general. But I think he said specifically he has the PPK. But
yeah, Walther, the PPK, like they have a whole line of like you can get them in pink and this and that. It's got a very girl friendly.
I need one that my girl can actually.
Then
rack
you want a 380.
My wife cannot rack the Taurus at all.
Then get a 380.
I also don't know if I want her having a gun.
Well, that's a different question.
She's actually a better shot than I am.
Yeah. The 380 is otherwise known as the purse gun, is the caliber that it's very compact. It still has a decent stopping power, but you can get it in a very small frame. You can, Beretta 380 as a tip up barrel for easy loading. 380 is designed to be the female friendly entry, like self-defense caliber.
Sure.
Famously, I believe Hans Gruber rocked a 380 in Die Hard.
'Twas very tiny in his hand.
Die Hard gun. Let's Gunpedia.
Die Hard gun.
Yeah, it's a he had the nickel-plated HK P7 M13 9mm pistol. It was a single stack. Ooh, with a pistol grip safety. It has a squeeze cocker. That is unique. But yeah, 380 is definitely the way to go if you're wanting to make a purse-friendly self-defense round.
Yeah, I'll probably get her one for. She's July. She'll be turning 50, so maybe I'll get her her personal firearm that she can actually rack and fire.
Yeah, I would say 380 would be a good choice. 9mm is still not a bad round. You just need to get the one that somebody's it's
the
more
Taurus
just
is just bulky and heavy. She cannot pull the slide back at all. Of course, she can't do anything with the AR either. So,
well, AR is different. Yeah, it's fun. I remember when there was an NRA funded study, and so people discounted it, but the most effective safety tool to do, like if you had a gun in the house and you had small kids, like they were studying, they used dummy rounds, so no kids were in danger, but they had trigger locks, they had gun safes, they had little biometric gun locks, safes. What the most effective thing was that actually, like, no kid under 13 was able to circumvent it?
A heavy slide?
It was keeping the magazine unseated.
Oh.
If they, like, no kid 13 or under was able to properly seat the magazine and then slide back the firearm to load a round in the chamber.
Right.
They just couldn't, they didn't have the dexterity, the comfort level. By the way, it's really hard for adults the first time you hand them a magazine and a pistol and say, can you load a round in the chamber? What you'll find is a lot of them just kind of slap the magazine in and it doesn't seat all the way, so it won't actually be ready to load. They don't follow through to actually push in and make sure it actually seated fully and properly. And then racking the slide back to actually, get that round in. Kids couldn't do it. It was so if you keep it in like a little gun, like I'm a big fan of Vault-Tec, makes those very nice compact little safes that are great for having in your nightstand or whatever.
Sure.
And so if you just keep the magazine just out inside the safe, if you need it, by the time you're opening a safe, if you grab the magazine, you can. If you train the battery of arms, you're going to be like 1 point whatever seconds away from having a round in the chamber anyway. So it's not the worst thing. Like, and your kids are perfectly safe that way. You're combining putting it in a safe and also making it so that they can't do it. And by the time they're over 13, you can take them to the range. You should have started the firearms training with them probably by that age, so that they know how to respect and understand the danger of a firearm. And at a certain point, you have to understand they're aware enough and have enough knowledge that you start training them and you give them the universal rules of firearm safety. Anything you're pointing at is only because you want to kill it. Be aware of not just what's in front of you, but what's beyond the target you're planning to shoot before you shoot. All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Mine are grown. And the youngest is scared to death of guns, so she would never pick up one, even if she saw it laying around. But I don't keep it laying around. But it was in the background of the old set in the garage. But no magazines were anywhere near where the gun was. I'm the only one who knows where those are, and it's never loaded unless I load it.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing. Most modern semi-automatic pistols do not have a decocker lever, which is a whole different thing. Because if you don't see a visible hammer, if it's like a Glock or one of those style where you actually don't have you have an internal hammer as part of the mechanism,
right?
You don't have a decocking level, which is what allows you to decock the hammer with a round in the chamber so it won't just go off. Otherwise, what you have to do is, and this is what you've seen.
Otherwise, you get Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, this is why you see with striker fire what you'll see with people disarming, and this is I do it this way. I've seen people, and when you see the video of real life events, you hit the magazine release button and you slide that rack back to dechamber the round so that it's safe, and then you throw the if you're trying to keep it away from somebody, then you throw the firearm away once it's been unloaded, so that it's you've moved the magazine away from the firearm, so there's no bullets chambered. This is if you're disarming someone coming at you. There's a video that I saw on social media this past week where a woman was, after a road rage incident, like flagging, like waving her gun around towards this dude and his like 16-year-old son, and she came up at him with it, holding it in her arm, and that was a mistake on her part, because he immediately grabbed her wrist and kept it pointed down. It went off because she was pulling the trigger, and then he just picked her up and just slammed her into the road to make because he was done. She now discharged the firearm. Then you can see him pick up the pistol, drop the magazine, slide the back, and then throw the gun away. And she is just like down on the ground like a just laundry pile, just not even moving. And people were like, well, I mean, he should be charged. And I was like, no, she should be charged with attempted murder, and he self-defended himself. So
right.
But welcome to Firearms Talk with Lil Chad and Brahma asking random questions.
Pretty much Chad.
We can see which
like
one
I
of
said,
us,
I'm all for firearms. I own two. I just don't get to practice with them enough that I feel safe enough to, and I'm not at the Chad level of stuff. I just like to own the two that I've got for self-defense and make sure that I'm practicing my rights to own, firearms, but I am also not dumb enough to think that I know enough about them to be carrying them on the streets. I think there is a level of knowledge you need to know and a level of training you have to have before you just start carrying a gun everywhere. So
yeah, you have to, I mean, you're taking a responsibility on when you when you carry a firearm. You have to understand what that entails. You have to understand that even if it's a quote unquote good shoot, the people investigating that are not necessarily on your side, no matter where you think it happened and who's supporting you, because maybe it's a Soros DA, even though it's a red county or whatever. So if you are, God forbid, involved in any kind of self-defense scenario, there's about one statement that you should ever make to the police on scene. I was afraid for my life, or I was afraid for somebody else's life, and that's it. And then otherwise you're going to be waiting for your attorney. And then I'd just be like, then if the cops want to ask you more questions, be like, I just feel more comfortable if I have an attorney with me. So I'm just going to not say anything further until I have one. Right. Because they're going to talk to you like they're your friends. They're going to buddy up to you. They're going to say things that make you think they're on your side, and then everything you say can and will be used against you. So understand that. You're going to, because in that situation, your natural inclination is that I did the right thing. I've got nothing to hide. The cops are the representatives of the law enforcement community. Clearly, they're going to be on my side. That's not always true. We've seen plenty of times now where people have done what is effectively the right thing self-defense wise, get railroaded.
Well, look
by
at Penny in
New York. I mean, in Texas, we had the example of the guy who was driving like the Uber car, and the Black Lives Matter protester came up with an AK-47, pointed it at him through his car window. And so when he shot that guy, the Austin DA brought him up on charges and got him convicted. And Abbott had to get the state legislature to allow him to pardon the guy. He was in the army, and I think he was working like just moonlighting, doing his Uber Eats or Uber driving, whatever thing he was doing. He ended up getting discharged from the military dishonorably. He got convicted briefly before the pardon happened. If it was a different governor who didn't have as much, political instincts as Abbott, he might have still be in jail. I mean,
right.
So,
Well, there's the guy in, it's not a self-defense thing, but there's the guy in New York that got sentenced to 10, 12 years of jail for for basically building out guns.
Well,
not even selling them,
no.
not doing anything with them, but having them because he liked, he liked building guns and having his collection. And he's in jail for 10 to 12 years. Not for intent to sell them, just because he has them. Did nothing with them. And it wasn't 3D printing, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy on the case. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
like
I
he's in
remember that
Rikers. This
Yeah,
is
he
like
was-
4 years ago.
Yeah, it was for 3D printing guns. He was
And
like,
the judge said there is no room
Second
for the
Amendment.
Second Amendment in this courtroom.
which, by the way, should have immediately discounted that
Triggered any appeal.
ruling. Yep.
Yes, and yet, as far as I know, it has not. Little shifting gears. Did you see that apparently Ellen Page is playing Achilles in Odyssey?
I still haven't seen that confirmed. I've seen people reporting it, but I
I've
haven't seen
quite a bit of reporting it.
But where's it actually been confirmed that that's what?
I'm not sure.
I just have a hard time thinking that even as crazy as Nolan seems to be going with some of this stuff, that
Nolan's
Ellie
going
Vince-
for the Oscar crap because you have to have all kinds of representation to get into the Oscars at this point. This is his Oscar bait because you can't just have certain people in the
But
movie.
he already
You have to
won
have a
with
ton of certain people.
He already won with Oppenheimer, so he doesn't need to win again.
Yeah, well, he's trying again because there's no other reason to start doing all of this crazy crap. And even if the Page stuff isn't true, the rest of it doesn't look good.
I think I'll just go watch Troy again because that movie's awesome.
So, in the past, you have been a hockey fan to some degree, right?
Yes. Yep.
Or a Rangers fan.
They're the same thing.
I mean, seriously, can you believe a 9-6 game? 9-6. So, last week when I missed, I was at the Avalanche round 2, game 1 game. 9-6. And it's the first time in the history of the NHL that a team went up 3-0, managed to lose the lead, and then still win by 3. That's how crazy that game was. I mean, you've watched hockey. Is that not an insane thing? I mean, 15 goals is insane.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, look, I've playoff hockey. What I'm usually used to on the high end for playoff hockey might be a 4-3 overtime game.
Right, because usually it gets locked down.
Yeah, the scoring is, and the thing is, they're not bad defensive teams.
No. The Avs and the Wild are two of the best defensive teams in the league.
So it's like, so
they
that's
were
where
just
it
like,
gets
nope,
crazy.
we're not doing anything. We are just going full bore. Nobody's playing defense. We're just going back and forth the whole game.
Yeah,
it was insane.
Yeah, so I remember because that was when you weren't here that game because you were there. I mean, on the show that we were doing that day,
right?
And I just kept looking at the score and it kept going up and up, and I was like, oh. And then 70s was like, I bet Brahma's happy he went to that game.
I mean, if you're gonna go to a game, that's the one. We won. B, look at the freaking amount of goals. I mean, it was like every 10 seconds we were on our feet, clapping again.
I mean,
I've got crazy idiots around me. One of them who paid like $250 to me to sit next to me, that he didn't know that he paid me. But the fourth ticket we did manage to sell. So I got to see who bought the ticket and sit next to him all game. He's high-fiving me every couple seconds.
I mean, I think this is a good question because I kind of agree with you. Like, now that it's a lot of these crazy things also started happening around the rise of sports gambling, and so you have to wonder, like, over-unders.
Over-unders is where you have a 6.5 and something, a crazy penalty gets called to get to 7. 15 goals, there is no sports gambling thing that's going into that. Because there's no over-under that is ever more than like 5.5 or 6.5 in hockey. You get the 15 goals, that is just both teams deciding, no, we don't care what the coaches say. We're not playing defense. And both goalies stayed in the whole game. They didn't pull either of them. It was crazy.
Well, I mean, at a certain point, you got to be like, this isn't. If both goalies, it's just, I mean, what are we gaining putting in the backup at that point?
But the weird thing is, for the Avs, the backup is actually the starter. Blackwood is our starter. Wedgwood is who has started every game of the playoffs. And he's undefeated until last night. So it was like, no, let him go. Let him cook. But it was like, I don't know if you remember back when Montreal had Patrick Waugh. The coach left him in to get burned for like 10 or 11 goals. And Waugh said, I will never play for this team again. That was obviously not happening in either of these cases. But when you leave your starter in to just get burned over and over and over, that sometimes sticks with that goalie. But in this case, it was so bad for both goalies that both coaches were just like, nope, let the boy watch.
It is a classic clip when Patrick Waugh was basically like, fucking trade me. I'm done.
Yeah, he goes over to the president and I think the owner are both standing right there. And he looks over at the coach, glares at him, and goes, trade me. I'm never playing another game for you. And that was against Detroit, who famously had a lot of problems with Colorado when they came into existence that next year. No, that was the same year, because he got traded mid-season to us, 95-96. That was the first year that the Avalanche existed. So, but yeah, that game was crazy. Being there live, I've been to a lot of Avalanche games. I've got season tickets. I've never seen a closeout game because the Avs never close out at home, although they could in this series. But that was the craziest game I've ever seen. 9-6. and 14 different goal scorers out of the 15 goals. Crazy stuff. And I still couldn't get my wife to wear a freaking jersey. It's like, you're going to be one of 7 people in this building that's not wearing a jersey. Why won't you just wear a jersey to a playoff game? Don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're at 3 hours and 40 minutes. I think we should probably...
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah. That's an extra hour and a half of show, I think.
Yeah, we gave some good learning on 2A. Talked about the Avalanche putting up, and what's crazy about that series is that and then they lost game 3, like giving up 5 goals.
And everybody's losing their freaking minds, and it's like, did you expect us to sweep through the whole thing? I don't think there's a single team that can beat us 4 games out of 7. The Avs are going to win the Stanley Cup. I mean, if you watch Bourbon and Boarding, I've been saying it all year. We're a better team than the last Stanley Cup team. Barring injury, this is not an issue. I mean, the Wild winning their first game at home in this series, yeah, teams play up when they get to home. This is not a thing. Davina, I'm glad you liked it. I did not like it. I think Chad semi-liked it.
For Mortal Kombat 2, I thought it was perfectly acceptable, good movie. Not anything that's going to stick with me. I thought the charisma and performances were pretty solid, especially the key leads.
Screw you, E. Clay.
Johnny Cage with Carl Urban and whoever the actor was playing Kano. But aside from that, it was
Kano
fun.
was the best part of the movie.
It was fun while I watched it. I enjoyed especially those two, and I was disappointed they didn't use the Mortal Kombat song
until
the movie until the credits. But other than, it's like a 7. It's one of those passable summer action movies that you used to get where it was.
Wait, I'm gonna grip for you.
Yep.
If you want the full review, go watch a Sin and Art from Friday.
That's true. And then sub if you're not already.
And I think Street Fighter is going to be better.
I think Street Fighter is going to come off.
Street Fighter is going to lean into the camp, and I think it will be a better thing. Because this one got stuck between campy and trying to be, rated R serious at the same time. And it didn't work for me. It worked for Chad and Slender a little bit. And Slender's kids, but and some people in chat, but it didn't work for me, and I was looking forward to it. So I thought Kano was great, though. I liked him in the first movie, and I think the first movie's crap. But yeah, I think that'll do it for us this week. We will be chopping the after show off like usual, so I will give everybody 24 hours to watch the after show before it gets chopped off, and then I'm gonna eventually start the after show as a separate stream type thing separate video type thing where you can watch the after show separate from the show, because it's not doing good with the algorithm that we talk politics and then we talk whatever the hell we talk about. So as much as I like that we're doing it and glad everybody sticks around, it confuses YouTube because YouTube's stupid. So have a great night, everybody. We will see you next Sunday, if not before then, on the multiple channels that we both appear on. Happy Mother's Day. Later, everybody.
Later, guys.